to Something to Talk About. My name is Taco, and welcome to the show. I usually have something planned and then I forget it for an opening. So, yeah, we're going to talk about all kings and high kings of the Iron Islands. And I'm pretty pumped. Are you guys pumped? I'm pretty pumped. And I also, it was one of those times when I wasn't sure if I was going to have anybody because I got a lot of maybes, and then all my maybes became yeses. And yeah, I got a stacked house. We're not going to have everybody the whole time, so I'm not going to just keep ranting and raving at you. So let's bring on everybody's favorite cowboy. We got Micheal Talks About Stuff. What's up?
Hello, how we doing?
Pretty good. How are you doing, man?
Doing all right. Yeah,
that's
just
good.
Hanging in there.
Yeah, me too. I think I'll just tell you how I've been doing once I bring everybody else in because I got to tell the leaves.
Yeah.
But coming up next is my favorite vibrating circle of a cat. We got Andy, also known as Stoner Tormund.
Oh, hello. I didn't expect to be brought up second this time.
I introduced you very clearly.
Yeah. No, I was just zoning out. Hello, Gilbert King.
Gilbert King. That sounds like great. Oh, did somebody say Gilbert King?
No, yeah, I'm gonna say it, but if someone said it,
no, there was already justice for Gilbert. Yeah.
Someone has the right political opinions about the Iron Islands.
That's my burner account. All right, and then let's bring in everybody's favorite interesting nerds. They even formed a club. And they got to watch out because if clubs get political now, you're just going to get sent to a different country. Welcome!
Rough. I mean, true.
Rough.
Hello, Taco. I'm pretty pumped, but you're pretty all the time.
Oh, god damn. After my own heart. Too bad I sold it for a pack of smokes.
Oh, that was who that was.
No, that was the Vice President of the United States.
All right.
Jesus Christ. All right, I started it. I can't get back. We're talking about kings, so politics are on the mind. And now let's bring in the least political person on the screen. Let's bring in Rust. Rust is probably pissed because I always tell him no politics, and I made a political joke right away.
I'm not pissed at all. You didn't even read my tagline, apparently.
No, I can't. It's too small.
Okay.
Oh, all right, that's fine.
Good news on that front. We got like proof of life. Chris Van Hollen found him.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Shit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Literally just broke before we started the stream.
Can I tell a story?
Oh, damn, that's good.
By the way, Chris Van Hollen, love your politics, love your band. Honestly, I'll vote for president if you can play Eruption during the debates.
I don't have an opinion.
All right,
No
can I
politics.
No politics. Not even talking about the hit future song that he wrote.
The 5 viewers we started with are gone. Come on. All right. So let's talk. I even ate my Mounds bar to wait. So welcome to Something to Talk About. We're going to talk about every king and high king. And yes, those are two different things. Ani reminded me when I was putting it together. I was like, hey, we're going to talk every high king. He said, well, what about the just normal kings? It's like, my God. But before we go, we'll do two things. First, like and subscribe, please, if you're not subscribed. 2, go ahead and send us some super chats if you want to make sure that we will answer your questions. If not, we have 16 slides to get through. So we're going to be busy. And I have a complete hard out at 3 hours, and I believe the interesting nerds are out in an hour, so or something like that.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, something like that. So want to get going, and also I wanted to tell everybody how I've been. So starting at the beginning of the year, we moved into a new house. That's right, the rocks. You guys already knew this. And then right after that, my bank account got hacked, and I did not have all of our money got drained out of it. And we did not have money for 20 days from February 1st to February 20th. And we got paid on the 1st, and it was all gone. So we had our savings in my wife's account, but joint account gone, my account gone. Wow. Yeah. So then had a root canal right before that I couldn't pay for. And then we did pretty good for a little bit. Kid's about to go happen. Actually, we have a few weeks until the kid's supposed to happen. What day is it today? The 17th. He was due in 3 days from now. And then driving home from work, car dies. My car, right? 2 cars, 2 people. Car dies. Boom. Completely dead. Gone, right? And then we go down the one car and check engine light right away. So we're like, okay. So my wife makes an appointment, and then she, while I'm at work at 3 a.m., goes into labor, like 3 weeks early. So my son is born. Rhett is his name.
Nice.
And yeah, it is great. He's upstairs waiting for me to get done. That's my heart out. Thank you. And then we put her car in because we're at the hospital. And we drove around in a rental. So we brought Rhett home from the hospital in a rental. And that's how I've been. I wanted to share.
Wild.
It's been
Congrats on the baby.
Is that Rhett like RHETT?
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. And thank you. I feel like it's all worth it. But my sister let me her 2000s VW Beetle to drive around in.
Wow.
So that's pretty fantastic.
That is pretty great.
It runs like crap, but it's really fun. They're really light and tiny, so it feels like you're driving a go-kart. Like they like skid across the road. So, anyways, or maybe I'm just driving crazy. That's all I got. And we ready to go?
Oh, that's very sweet of you, Tom.
Holy crap! Just like that, boom. Timid. All right, dude, I put him on the list. He's on the list. I added him for you. Thank you for the $2. And thanks. Who's college fun? Because I still should go back at some point.
No, that's for mine.
Oh, for your college fun.
So did you get your money back?
Yes, eventually. 20 days or 20 days. It took me 20 days.
I had a very similar experience where my money, I still don't know where it went. I converted all my savings into Haktua coin, and it was all stolen. So let's try to figure out who took it. Did you report it to her?
Yeah. That is a mystery indeed.
Yeah.
I bought a non-fungible token because there was this wizard in the woods who told me that he could make it fungible.
Well, thank you guys for the super chat, and also these guys have the same name as you guys. Zach.
That's wild.
Curious.
Yeah, thank you.
Wild coincidence.
Very wild. Wild like my favorite type of sauce at B-dubs.
Wild like a fox.
Wild like Jeffrey McWild. He's a fighting character and virtual fighter. You know what? All right. All right. Go ahead and send super chats if you want us to pay attention and answer your question. Although we never get questions as super chats. And also, there's a PayPal in the description. So, are you guys ready? All right, cool. Thanks, everyone. Not everybody.
Yeah.
I didn't know who you were talking to.
Who was the first king of the Iron Islands? Tormund.
That was Joe.
That's
Great King.
I mean, do we
Orange
count
Joe.
the Great King?
We
or
count the
do
Great King today. Technically, he's not a high
Gotta
king of
be,
the
right?
Iron Islands, but we are starting him just because. Why not?
Because
He's
I
the Great
think
King.
like the Great King didn't fully have like the title.
His name's King, dude.
This one's my
I mean-
favorite.
Fair.
He didn't go by King. Yeah, he did. That's his first name. What are you talking about?
I meant High King, but sure.
Yeah, no, he didn't go by High King, or as far as I know, King of the Iron Islands. You're right. He didn't come up in either of those lists, but you know,
Maybe his name just later came to mean king, like Caesar.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
maybe. That's
mayhaps.
awesome. I like it.
He's
Perhaps.
I'll read the first
Actually-
one. Great King is a legendary monarch of the Iron Islands who is said to have ruled over 1,007 years. It's so specific. During the Age of the Heroes, almost all the great houses of the Isles claim descent from him, including the ruling Greyjoys. The exceptions are the Good Brothers, who claim descent from his eldest brother. The Grey King's given name is unknown. The Grey King is so named because his hair, beard, and eyes were gray as the winter sea, and at the end of his life, even his skin has turned gray. Where's Micheal freaking out about others right now? Micheal, how many of your others radars are going up?
That wasn't a description of others. That was Roger from American Dad that you just described.
So
that is in character for him.
His long gray finger.
Oh,
All
I'm
right,
so
sorry.
excited.
Go ahead,
Farland
Micheal.
adaptation of Game of
Well,
Thrones.
no, I was just gonna say if you
Some
want to
of
throw
that
the
in season
slide
8.
back up, I had to go deal with some dogs that just realized I was down here and wanted to say hi.
I specifically said
Um,
the Grey King is now named because of his hair, beard, and eyes were gray as winter sea, and at the end of his life, his skin has turned gray. I'm just asking
Okay.
what you got for first or
Yeah.
for othery stuff.
Well, okay. I do have a theory that I was at one point going to present to the Interesting Nerd Club.
Well, you don't have to ruin it.
But well, I don't have it fully together though. So
Okay.
I have enough
had a theory fully together.
Dude just had
No.
grayscale the whole time.
I was about
Yeah.
to say what Nick was saying. Like it sounds more like grayscale, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It definitely does have grayscale.
Yeah, but
like,
you're not supposed to
vibes,
live
yeah.
for 1,000 years of grayscale. You're supposed to die quickly.
But
Well,
there's
did just say
two-
the end of his life he had gray.
There's
Yeah.
two different types of grayscale, though, potentially. One that you live with for a very long time, and one that kills you.
That's
very
true.
rapidly.
Yeah,
So it's
all right.
possible he just had the slow doesn't kill you kind. I believe that's parallel. I think there's a real life disease that's like that too.
Chicken pox.
Oh yeah, I guess true. Yeah.
I mean, it is parallel with chickenpox because
how about
it
this?
really said, if I remember correctly, and I'll let you continue.
Yeah.
Because grayscale is like supposed to be fatal to adults, but in childhood you can really easily survive it.
Which
so that's
is
kind of
very
another
chickenpoxy.
chickenpox
Yeah.
parallel.
Yeah. Michael, I am going to toss it to you. Let me get through this slide in case there's more.
Yeah.
And then I want to hear what you were going to say. But I realized I shouldn't have thrown it to you halfway through anyways. He was supposedly wore robes of woven seaweed and a tall pale crown made of Naga's teeth. But he alternately said to have worn the driftwood crown, which we know shows up literally in the next king has a driftwood crown. I don't think I have that written, but it's true. Where was I? Oh my
Legends say.
Driftwood
thank
crown.
you. Legends say he slew Naga, after which the drowned god turned the sea dragon's bone into stone, from which he made the Grey King's Hall. He did it with Naga's living fire. He took a mermaid as a wife and brought fire to the earth by taunting the storm god into setting a tree on fire with a thunderbolt. He allegedly carved the first longship from the pale wood of Yeek, which is just a weirwood. We've covered that. A demon tree which fed on human flesh, aka a weirwood. Lots of things, of course. You got Odin symbolism, and we have pretty much almost every theology has the guy who brought fire and or knowledge to the men from the gods, so on and so forth. Michael, what do you got?
So there's a couple different ways that you could kind of go. So the Iron Island culture obviously is very wildling-like, right? Like they're raiders. They're very old First Men style culture. So it seems like they are at least culturally influenced from the same place.
Also, the wildlings are the only other people who have thralls, which is really
Right.
interesting. Yeah.
Right.
Hmm.
And so it seems to me that like they are on some level or another a remnant of that same old culture or whatever, which would make you think that they should either worship weirwoods or like maybe they were a competing nature god that lost out to the weirwoods. And it does remind you of how like the Starks go into the stone seemingly when they die, like they go into these stone gray statues rather than like, you know, put their body in the roots of a weirwood, unless the whole crypts are the roots of the weirwood. You know, it could be that.
When they spared
but-
Asha's life, sorry, were they taking her as a thrall?
When they spared her
Who?
life? Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Fantasy-
That's Northmen. That wasn't wildlings.
Yeah.
Right. No, I understand that, but I just realized because I was trying to think when you said that these are the only, those are the only two that seem to take thralls. I was thinking it probably had something to do with the ban on slavery, but also that like there were a lot of peasants who were basically treated as thralls. And then I was like, oh wait, what about Asha? That
Yeah.
sounds exactly like a thrall, but they never used that
I think
word.
she's just a political prisoner. But specifically, wildlings north of the wall, some of them have thraldom, and of course, the difference is, I guess thraldom would be like the only reason it's not considered slavery is because if you were born son or whatever of a thrall, you're born free as long as you're born on the Iron Islands, and also you cannot sell them. You can only pay the iron price for them. I cannot go buy a thrall. I have to steal a thrall, and that's that. There's no trade. That's the main. There's no thrall trading. There's just capturing and using until they.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry for cutting you off, Mike.
No. We got to talk about thralls. It's cool. Michael,
No,
I was talking to Michael. I was apologizing to Michael, not to you.
All good. But the other thing that I have been thinking about, right, is okay, so like let's imagine that the Iron Islanders were people who used to worship weirwoods or some other old First Men type of nature god, and they were driven out from wherever they lived and settled the Iron Islands. But that's why they have such an old ways type culture, or at the very least, like some people from there went and settled there, right? So, like, the one thing I was kind of thinking about is like, okay, so then if they were worshiping, if they weren't worshiping weirwoods, this doesn't track really. But if they were worshiping weirwoods at some point, then maybe the legend of like the demon tree is just a different weirwood. You know, like
it's just
your tree is your tree is God. The demon tree is that other tribe's god tree that they worship that has their green seer in it, right?
And both of them are brown.
And so, yeah, well, and my theory was going to be is like if originally, like there were a bunch of these little like tribes that worshipped like one weirwood tree, and their green seer underneath it was like their leader, and they were fighting against one another, and the Iron Islanders were one of those that were driven out. The theory was going to be essentially like, okay, imagine they were the tribe that lived around the weirwood that is now at the Night Fort, which was filled up with water underneath it, apparently, by magic, which would make their god, who was down in the roots of that tree, now underwater and drowned, but maybe still alive and having magical power.
Bro,
so
you're blowing my mind.
if they're an old weirwood worshipping society that worships the drowned god, is it because way deep in the past they remember that their green seer got drowned underwater, but he's still communicating and reaching out to them, so they still talk about, oh, we worship this drowned god?
That's nuts.
Is
he the guy that swallows Hodor's rock?
Basically, like that's the idea, right? Down there somewhere there's maybe a green seer strapped into those roots, and if so, he's underwater now.
Well, because when they throw the rock down the wall, it doesn't splash. It sounds like it gets swallowed.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, which is one of the creepiest. Now I don't mind what you just said. All that was actually really good.
That was Sam.
Yes, Sam.
He was really hungry. He ate the rock as it fell on him.
And that's the one that goes Hodor, right?
Hodor.
Yes.
So
wait, I do want to chime in here with something from chat with Andreas saying probably not keeping in mind the old gods are the gods of chill of the forest who the first men avoided. I'm not sold that the Ironborn are first men. There's some weird quirks with them that make it seem like they're different. And also, I do want to play off of Michael's thing. One of the things I want to come in and say is that we don't have a record of the Grey King dying. So it could be that he's still alive. Like, I think he marches into the water and he's never seen again in the legend.
Like that prime minister.
Like that prime minister. Yes, like the Australian prime
maybe.
minister.
I didn't know that. I can read that really quick. There is somebody we're talking about later who does that.
I might be mixing it up. But
that's why I'm making sure.
But we don't have an account either way, and it could be the case that every king afterwards is illegitimate, and that the Great King
had her sons after his death. Yeah, it just says after his death, all of his sons fought. In 16 who lived divided the islands. So it doesn't actually say that he walked into the sea. At least not off of Wiki.
We don't have a how he died. We just know that there was a massive brawl afterwards. It could be the case that he ascended to godhood, which feels fitting for this guy.
All right, I got something I want to say.
Maybe he descended into godhood by drowning.
Oh, maybe.
Therefore becoming the drowned god.
I want to say it was either Preston Jacobs or maybe even Company of the Cat. I'm sorry, but probably not Preston Jacobs. Sorry, I think it's David Lightbringer. It's one of them. The idea that the Grey King came from the other side of the planet from the Great Empire of the Dawn, and the pretty much Yig and Naga are remnants of old gods. So he killed a demon tree, aka so he came from a different culture and killed the first men culture that's there. And now the one that's there now is a nice mixture of first man, right, and whatever culture he brought. And just like how Naga's bones that make up the Great Hall that are now gone, and it's just where you walk up to do the King's Moot, and they're big. They look like fucking weirwoods. They're stone branches. And it said the god, the drowned god turned Naga's bones into stone. That's just weirwood root. Like, right? And so also Driftwood chair, a lot of that. And keep in mind, Grey King didn't sit on the Seastone chair at all. He's not mentioned in Seastone chair specifically. If I bring up the slide, what he's standing in is Naga's jaws, and his teeth are also made for his crown. So he's possibly wearing a weirwood crown and weirwood jaws, but they're severed. He's not tied into any network. He's wearing possibly weirwoods as his trophy because he came from a different land and killed the first men traditions. That's I'm not saying I stand on that. I really like that, but that's what I've heard, and I kind of really like that.
Yep, that has been my take for a long time. Ig is a reference to Norse mythology, and that coupled with sea serpent imagery makes me think of apocalyptic portents of whoever lived on the island before the Grey King came. I think that you
sorry.
The destruction of a world tree, I think, must be what happened there. And I think that's really cool.
Super cool.
I have also heard the take that, I don't remember who, but someone pitched once that that the Naga's ribs are an upside down weirwood boat.
I've heard that a lot.
Yeah, the remnants of an upside down weirwood boat.
Yeah.
And that is nuts, but I do like it.
Yeah,
because that's what they would do with their ships, is they would turn them upside down.
Once they get to a new land, who's gone? Andy's gone. Hopefully he'll come back. We do have, like I said, 16 slides to get through, and in Grey King's not only the most exciting. There's actually a lot of other ones that we're going to spend a lot of time on. So I want to move. Does anyone else have something they have to say about the Grey King before we move on?
No,
I just want to know, like,
minutes on each slide sounds just about perfect. So we can. I'm good.
We'll get through the first three.
How many minutes?
What the heck was Naga?
A sea serpent or a giant sea dragon, according to.
And that's just kind of all we know.
Yep, just a gigantic sea dragon.
Okay.
And
I'm on a sea dragon diet.
Yeah. If I see
it, I drag my nuts on it.
Yeah.
And eat it.
Hey, I crashed for a second, so I think I missed a minute of the conversation here.
No, dude,
we were just talking about dragging your nutsack on
You're
stuff.
okay. You just missed a handful of these nuts jokes.
Yeah.
You really didn't miss anything. I said, hey, let's move on. And I'm glad you're back. Hey, guy who knows everything, Andy, what's the name of the first High King of the Iron Islands?
I think it's Euron, Urron.
What's the last name?
It's a gray iron. That was pretty clear to me.
Let's find out.
The first big
your ass. Wow, I didn't do that on purpose. Eurus.
and my ass.
It looks like Eurus gray iron. So you're a little off.
Yeah, fair enough. Whatever.
It's cool. I'm just curious.
I was going to if I was actually going to say something about the Grey King.
Do it.
And an interesting parallel I found, because we were talking about how Scandinavian mythology obviously inspires to some extent the Ironborn, and we've given the examples of Ig. I will point out that the Grey King and this sort of mythological founder figure sounds a lot like the Yngling dynasty of Sweden, which is not really historically attested at all. At least for the most part, but they are still kind of this legendary royal family that is descended from the gods, that is at least traditionally considered to have been the founders of Sweden as a nation. Cool. That one goes back to Yngvi, who is treated as it's unclear from the old sources whether he's a god or someone he's supposed to be fully human. That's kind of, a bit the question there regarding...
Just the vibe that most of these founders get off, whatever.
Yes, exactly. Anyway, so it's you're dealing with a situation where the line between historicity and,
and then he built that giant structure by his own hand and then ruled for 1,000 years. It's like, wait a second, I don't think any of that shit happened. This
is extremely interesting, and I didn't know it, and I love learning things. Yeah, that's fantastic.
Thank you for showing up, Tom.
Yeah.
All right. Can we get to the actual High Kings? Let's get going.
Yeah.
So let's talk about your ass. Now I did that on purpose. Also, my favorite thing about almost every one of these kings is they have really awesome nicknames. They're so much like the Starks, where almost everyone has a good one. So Eurus, let's go with Grey Iron, was known as Eurus Ironfoot, which means he's related to Dunk. The prophet Galon.
Good joke.
We're going to hear about Galon. Let's go with Galon Whitestaff a couple more times. But he summoned the numerous rock and salt kings of to Old Awake for a king's moot, during which Eurus, the salt king of Orcamont, was chosen the first high king of the Iron Islands, and he was the first monarch to rule all the Ironborn since the Grey King. Does anyone have anything for Eurus before we move?
No, just Gallon Whitestaff is a good drag name.
Dude, if you need if you're either rocking a druid or a wizard in a D&D, Gallon Whitestaff's a good way to go, man.
Whitestaff is a druid who does porn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Are you the druid BWS?
My favorite thing about that joke, Zach, is I think you thought about abandoning it, but you realized you were too committed.
And then you realized your audience would be
it was your joke with more clarity. But, you had to roll with it.
I will be typing in big white staffs later.
When he left, he was but Gandalf the Grey Staff.
But now he is Gandalf the White Staff.
After the skin treatment worked.
That's a video I've not shot in a long
Played by Johnny Sins.
Oh, I have
Wait,
a bunch of I have a bunch of clips that I wasn't planning on using. That I was planning on using.
Bunch of Johnny Sins clips?
Nope, I don't have any Johnny Sins clips. I do have Johnny Thrust clips. No, I watched a bunch of Val Kilmer movies.
That was not what I thought you were going to say at the end of that sentence.
No, I just have a bunch of.
I watched a bunch of. That's not where I thought you were
talking about.
I have a bunch of Val Kilmer movie clips. Only 2 of them actually have Val Kilmer in it. One of them is something completely different that we might play later. It probably won't come up, and it's a little ridiculous. But I do have these.
I'm your huckleberry.
Not sure when I'll use them, but I got them. So if anybody needs, and then of course I have classic Ironborn clips such as this.
A finger in the bone.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Prestige television right there.
That's
the best character in that.
I think that was the peak of the entire show.
I was about to say the exact same joke. God damn it.
Also, I was watching while we were in the hospital. My wife was just clicking the first movie she popped up just because we're stuck in there for days. And we watched Pauly Shore's Son-in-Law, No Regrets. Fantastic. And he walks by a bunch of dudes outside of a shop and just goes, "Inbreeders," as he walks by him. And I was like, I really need that clip for next time we talk about Targaryens. And I couldn't find it. But I did find this. So if we bring up Targaryens, I have this from Silicon Valley.
Born of relentless inbreeding.
Because the term relentless inbreeding.
I think you'll find time to use that one.
You will.
Yeah.
I miss the days when you would watch a bad movie just because it was the only thing on. And you get exposed to things that you never would have watched otherwise. It's the whole reason that I ever watched Big Bang Theory, right? Somebody once asked, they're like, "Was Big Bang Theory ever funny?" And I was like, I think it was just the only thing on at the moment.
Like that 70s show too.
I was gonna say something about movies, but Michael, I want you to know when you're looking down texting, you look like an anime character. with the hat tip just covering your eyes. Yeah.
He looks like a bad guy in every Western
Cat Bane.
Or
it's
every
a Cat Bane look.
Supernatural Western novel. You look like the dude chasing the gunslinger,
This is good joke.
It's high noon.
It's high noon.
High noon, I'm dead.
Damn it, I'm just gonna do it. Hi, noon.
Hi,
Jack.
Somebody this is just a high joke. No, I'm not gonna rant about work. Screw it. I haven't worked for 3 weeks. Euron the first Grey Iron was known as is it Eric or Uric?
I would say Eric.
I have
Eric.
met a person with this spelling before.
The fuck you asking us for? Like we named him or something.
I don't know
Yeah,
why
you
you're
guys
so
are
fucking
George
mad
Jones.
about it, Russ.
I would actually say that here's the European insight into this. This is
Thank
the German way you would spell the name Eric.
All right, perfect. Eric the First, Gray Iron. That's why we keep you around, Andy.
Hey, do you live in Germany right now?
I live in Austria, so
You live in Austria. Okay. Are you guys?
It's the same as Germany, but more mountainous and more inbred.
Yeah, no, we know it's Austria.
Relentless inbreeding. We brought it back.
You got the
Austria is diet German, just like Belgium is diet France,
As long as
and Portugal is diet Spain.
and Luxembourg is diet everyone.
Sure.
Luxembourg is like the weird French-German hybrid that nobody wants to talk
I know
about.
they speak like 5 different languages everywhere.
And then there's
And
Monaco.
when you said he lived
There's
there,
like
and
three-
you would
there's
hear like
countries that are
at
weird
least 5
French-German hybrids
languages.
that nobody wants to talk about.
All right, moving on. Eric.
I was just wondering if I could go to
Fuck.
Austria because I don't want to be here anymore.
All right.
Sure.
If you want to visit him. He's known as Eric the Ugly after the death of his father, Eurus. Eric seized the driftwood crown and proclaimed himself High King of the Iron Islands. However, the priest Gallon of Whitestaff, there he is again, big old Gallon, Gallon of Whitestaff, if you know what I'm talking about, despite being half blind and feeble, arose, hey, we're keeping the joke alive, in fury and declared Eric the unlawful king. And as he had not been chosen by a king's moot, he assembled all Ironborn captains and kings to Oldwick, and Eric was quickly unmade and condemned to death. He avoided his fate by casting his father's crown into the sea, a sign of submission to the drowned god. That's pretty awesome. And we're going to get through our Ragnar Drum really quick. He was known as Raven Feeder, and he was the rock king of Oldwick. Rhaegar was chosen as the new king at the King's Moot over Eric.
That's a shitty thing to do to your dad's crown, man.
I gotta say, it sucks when you're the first High King to completely rebuild the infrastructure and pass universal health care, and they call you Eric the Ugly.
I gotta say that end is the plot of the movie Titanic.
Yeah, no, it totally is.
I understand the gesture, but that crown is valuable.
Oh yeah, no, I understand now.
Whenever I think of Titanic, you guys remember riff tracks? I remember the riff tracks of that. The guys who did.
I need to see that.
3000. It's that scene in Titanic where it zooms up on like young Rose's eye, and then it transitions her to old, and then it like zooms up and they're in the old. And it's just as it's slowly aging, the guys in riff tracks are like, and I'll never not think that whenever I see like an age transition of just like, oh my god.
See, I remember a different video where it's that same transition, but then it goes to the raptor from Jurassic Park 3.
Perfect, Alan.
And then he goes, Alan.
That's actually a perfect segue because there's this comedian.
How would that possibly be a perfect segue?
There's this comedian named Nick Mohammed. He was in Ted Lasso. If you watched that, but he wrote lyrics to the Jurassic Park theme song as like a bit, and I can't hear the theme song anymore without hearing his lyrics, and they're fucking hilarious. And it just like, yeah. So I would recommend looking it up, but once you hear the lyrics, you're never going to be able to unhear them when you hear the music.
We are going to move on after the next comment.
Oh no!
Next comment.
No one make a comment.
So my bit isn't funny.
We'll never move on. Anyone got anything else for Eric and Ragnar the Red?
Signature select Jack Sparrow. Who's that?
Yeah, I don't know. I already heard that.
That's a good joke, Nick. That's a good joke. That's a good joke.
But yeah, when I read Ragnar Drum, and I know that the drum's sigil's red, I just got Ragnar the Red from Skyrim. Every saloon in Skyrim stuck in my head.
Yep.
And then as I was typing up this, I kept going. Everyone's supposed to hear Ragnar the Red.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
You've triggered me as well.
Speaking your language, Andy.
Actually, one of the things I was reading when I woke up was a commentary on Skyrim's politics and how like Bethesda is too afraid to write an objectively terrible, shitty, evil faction anymore, because the Stormcloaks should not be willing to accept you if you're not a Nord.
Well, that's
racist.
I once made a Nord character, and I decided to play like racist, and I commented on something. It's like it was a Fudge Muppet was doing builds. A YouTube channel was doing builds for Skyrim, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna make this build, but I'm gonna play like I'm not gonna work with or deal with like to limit my because I like to limit my role playing builds. Whereas like I will not accept a mission from a Dunmer, and somebody goes, "That's not a Nord. That's not what are you talking? That's not a Nord thing to be racist." It's like, dude,
what do you mean? The Nords
and one of them goes like right away, like, "Hey, you not like me?" Like it's like the first thing that happens when you walk in. I'm like, what are you talking about? Hey, you like me? You look like this? No, get out of here. Like,
if there's one thing the Elder Scrolls universe has never had a lack of, it is racism between the races. My God,
they made the Altmer literally. I can't say that word. But they made him
the no Germans.
A specific type of totalitarianism.
The no
Germans.
No. I like the no Germans. Is really good. That's good. Where for some reason they took over the whole country, but once Americans stepped in, they're like, I haven't seen one. That
really unfun period in the late 30s and early 40s. You know the one.
The Gilded Age? All right. That was after. Qhored the Cruel. That's right, Maegor fanboys. Maegor copied Qhored. Suckers.
Thomas dead.
All right. Anyways, Qhored the First Horror. God, I hate that last name. Known as Qhored the Cruel, was one of the High Kings of the Iron Islands. Well, he is usually associated with House Hoare. Some accounts say that he was actually a Grey Iron or a Black Tide. Jeez, get your facts straight. The young Qhored sacked Old Town. Wow. You just do that? Let's go do that. All right. Taking thousands of women as captives.
Is sacking when you drag your sack over it?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's a giant, huge white statue. Of course you are. When he was
just like dragon.
A giant, huge white staff, maybe?
Oh my God. Here we go.
A gallon white staff, even?
King.
Look, I didn't start
Oh
this.
my God. We'll play Stay on Target. Won't make me. This is like the worst we've ever been.
This is my favorite thing. I'm so glad we came.
King.
It's not even that bad. I think you're just really tired, Taco.
I am. I'm super fucking tired. I'm going to mute you too. He defeated King Benar II Justman and took his 3 sons as hostages. 3 years later, he murdered the boys in a bloody. Where am I at? Murdered the boys in the bloody keep of Pike. There you go. Crushed Benar's vengeful army. There you go. And drowned the River King as a sacrifice to the drowned god. So he kidnapped this dude's kids, and then when he's like came back to like get his kids back, he just slaughtered him, crushed the army, and then killed the king. So, wow. All right. Justman should have just stayed at home, I guess. Putting an end to House Justman. Yeah, that's at the end of Justman. During the reign of King Qhored, the Ironborn could rightfully claim that his writ ran wherever a man can smell salt water or hear the crash of waves. The Ironborn were at their peak of their expansion, ruling territory among the Sunset Sea from the Arbor to Bear Island. Many men abandoned the shores for fear of Qhored's reavers, while those who remained were forced to pay tribute. The Kingdom of the Reach called him Qhored the Cruel, and King Qhored died at the age of 90, having served for 75 years. Boom! Badass. And horrible.
Makes me want to play Crusader Kings. That's the type of character that makes you want to do that.
It just real successful. Reigns for a long time. Gets shit done. Yeah.
It's very interesting how Qhored I Hoare being the next on your list is like he is the next on the list, and I do admit to having glanced like several hours earlier at the wiki to remind myself of who everyone is.
Yeah,
but I was like when you talk about this, I'm like, okay, Qhored I Hoare, you say he was like the one who put an end to the Justmen, the Justman dynasty, but and the Justmen are post Andal invasion. That's
No,
like
they're not.
very late. Yeah, what do you mean? Are they not? I thought the Justmans
No,
were like
they're
born
not.
out of a Blackwood and Bracken bastard shortly after the Andal invasion. That's like my timeline as far as my head goes.
I did a video for Justman, but yeah, we're looking it up right now.
Yeah, I just looked it up. It was founded after the Andal invasion by Benedict Rivers, a bastard from houses Blackwood and Bracken.
Yeah, I know Benedict Rivers. I did a video for him. I just wanted to see where it specifically said Andal invasion, but yeah, you're right. Founded right after the Andal invasion. Okay, holy crap. Yeah, that might be a problem because I think we bring up the Andals later.
No, while we're talking about this,
it might be the wiki being wrong.
No, I don't know. Or a lot of times there's a lot of times there's issues like that.
Fog of War, like legends. Keep in mind, we're talking like 2,000 years minimum.
Yeah. And also, like they specifically talk about them losing power after here, so it fits in the timeline. Like, or the next ones mention how they are losing the power from Qhored I Hoare. So it's not like somebody just was supposed to put them in the Hoare dynasty that was way later and accidentally screwed up on the wiki. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is way after the Andal invasion.
Maybe it's a George screw up.
Yeah, that's also very possible. But yeah,
I do want to comment on the last names. Have a very interesting sort of dynamic where they copy different ideas we see in other parts of the world. Because we know there's a character with the last name Blacktide, but with a Y, which is usually something we see with Targaryens more so. Although we also see that in the Ironwoods and Dorne, which is an interesting choice. And then we have the like Grey Iron and Greyjoy, which are a lot more firstman names are basically just normal-ish names, and then usually the Andals are like fantasy-sized versions, or seems more like that. So we have like an amalgamation here, because like Stark and Bolton and all that, that's pretty like standard like last name fare. And then when you think of Andal last names, they're a little bit more Gurmy, like Hoare might be, or Harlaw. Well, Harlaw is kind of first man.
I find this because I actually have a different take on the last name. Do you want to
go for it? Go for it.
Okay. I actually find it interesting, Taco, that you dislike his last name so much because I have had.
I don't like saying Hoare.
That's reasonable.
That's what I don't like about it.
But from a world building perspective, I think there's something to be mined there. I suspect that as the books state, he was probably a descendant of one of the other families, but either a bastard or a son of a salt line, and was given the last name Hoare as like a
son of a
and he took it as a sigil and ran with it.
So he might have been a founder. I didn't even put that thought together. I read that as he might not have been a Hoare at all. That the histories might be messing it up, and his name might have been Qhored Blacktide. But no, the way you read it as he was possibly the founder of the house from one of those totally fits too.
Yeah. Like if you called somebody Blackfire, they might have taken that as an insult before the Blackfires were established. Yeah. Maybe somebody called him that and he decided to take it as a sigil.
Yeah. And in horror, I always think of the way that's spelt as like Hoarfrost.
Like Hoary as in Hoary Brigand. Yeah,
not as the other way to spell it. Let's keep going because we have a lot to get through. And I think Tom said when we were talking before the stream, like, yeah, I'd love to get to Euron, and I was thinking, like, we're not getting to Euron in an hour. Are you?
No, I didn't say we had to get to Euron. I said we had to talk about Euron, and we now have.
Oh, there you go. I think he did nothing wrong. No notes.
Best character in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yep. I mean, I think he saved the show. And then I forgot about his whole Iron Fleet.
He's the only thing keeping those last seasons anywhere near entertaining. For reasons that are different than the earlier seasons are entertaining. But we take anything in those later seasons because every other character like walked on after taking an entire bottle of Ambien and said lines that were like,
dude, they got flanderized so hard. Every single one of them got flanderized, man.
Yeah.
Like, how do you do that in a show that short?
Yeah. No, it happened overnight too. They just walk in their
Yeah.
husks. Season 5 Tyrion is immediately not Tyrion. It's like fucking shocking.
Season 5 Tyrion is just Dan and Dave using. He's just a stand-in for the writers.
He's an character.
And it's like gross.
He's just equipped.
But he drinks and he knows things. Have you thought about that though?
I didn't think
Right.
about
Yeah,
it.
I never thought about that.
That's true.
Garbage.
I think you guys got us for one more slide, by the way.
All right, cool. Well, let's get into the decline of power. This is like the first of like 5 times they decline in power, so don't get too upset. Theon, by the way, this is a Theon before Theon the Hungry Wolf, because we bring him up later, which really doesn't make sense, Andy, because Theon the Ugly Wolf, the Hungry Wolf, was during the time of the Andal invasion, and I don't read about Theon for quite a while. So actually,
to be fair, the Andal invasion was
really long.
Yeah, it's not like it happened all at once.
Yeah,
like, realistically, it wouldn't have. So
yeah, I guess. But yeah. So we got Theon the Third Greyjoy was chosen at the King's Moot. His reign was among those which saw the decline of the Ironborn power over the western coast of Westeros, including houses Gardener and Hightower ceasing to pay their tribute. Theon sailed against them, only to be slain by Lord Lyman Hightower, who revived the practice of thraldom long enough to set the Ironborn captives captured in battle to hard labor strengthening Old Town's walls. I know I cut that up, but yeah, so they attacked Old Town. This Hightower lord fought them off, and then afterwards he's like, hey, you know how you guys take our thralls? We're going to turn you guys into thralls just to repair our walls, and then got rid of them. I thought that was pretty cool. We don't do slavery unless we need some really cheap labor really quick. And then we'll free them.
No, can't tell that joke.
That's probably well advised. I don't know what it was, but I agree.
Yeah, but if you're launching off with something I probably shouldn't have said, yeah, it's probably going to be really bad. Anyone got anything for Theon the Third? Besides the fact that he was before the Hungry Wolf.
I mean, I think that the name there is meant to set some things up. You don't name a character Theon Greyjoy and have him play a prominent role in the history unless that's going to be paralleled with the Theon that we know much better.
If we want to start talking about Theon parallels, they're riddled throughout here. But yeah, definitely you could think him. But I don't know what because he came in during the decline of power, I guess, would be the only thing I could really think. But of course, I haven't read the rest of the book because they're not out. But I know once we get to Latecomer and stuff like that, we're gonna get to
Latecomer for sure.
Yeah, which is pretty far away still. Anyone else got any Theon the Third?
I mean,
nickname.
If I remember correctly, the Lord Hightower that is mentioned here is also the last Hightower king before they bent the knee to the Gardeners.
Well, it does say Lord Lyman, so yeah.
Yeah, he bent the knee, so he wasn't always king.
Wow. Maybe. I don't know. All right, we got Balon the Fifth, known as Coldwin, was chosen at the King's Moot during the reign. He destroyed the feeble fleets of the King of the North. So that's it. I don't think anyone has anything there. And then you got Eric the Fifth Harlaw. That's why I got the Harlaw sigil. Was chosen at the King's Moot, and he retook Fair Isle in his youth, only to lose it again in his old age. It's just funny. And then Harren Harlaw was chosen at the King's Moot and slew Gareth II Gardener, the King of the Reach, beneath the walls of Old Town.
The Harlaw sigil rocks.
Oh yeah,
it does.
Yeah.
But have you seen the variations made of it for the current relatives of Roddy the Reader?
Oh hell yeah!
I do have a short of every Harlaw sigil. Go check it out. Thank you, Andy.
Okay, so go check that short out, guys.
Thank you. I do think
so good on a ship too.
It does.
Harris the Knight Harlaw has the best because it's got the peacock from his mom's house.
Oh yeah.
It's good. Yeah.
I do wonder, just talking about being named after old kings, I wonder if Balon was like partially inspired to be like, no, I got to be like this Balon and attack the North, because that Balon Greyjoy, right?
Maybe.
He attacked the North, so Balon's just like, yeah, this is my destiny. It's written in the history books. I got to do it.
Yeah,
it's probably also like why he got named Balon.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody at the twins getting named Walder. You know.
Yeah.
I got distracted a moment ago because Glidus has poisoned my brain. So every time I hear the word peacock, I hear it in Euron's big cock voice.
I hear it in Tracy Morgan's screamings from 30 Rock.
Oh my god!
I'm going to be real.
What is your head, Rust?
Glidus managed to poison my head, and I only just managed to get out of it. And you've brought it back. God damn it!
I mean, he
got
got
you.
literally.
Don't you worry, I got you.
I get. Anytime I'm listening to the books and anyone says somebody is a horse, I have to pause it, get it out of my head, and then get
putting that one in the low hanging fruit theories for when Tom and I really need to record. Okay, yeah, this person's a horse. Okay,
and I'm gonna add to the opening bits that basically every time someone says they have to change a tire, my brain does go patire.
You know where my Peter goes? Oh wow. You know where whenever I hear Peter, this one's gonna go over everybody's head. But Freddy Got Fingered, the Tom Green directed movie, he is looking for a guy named Peter, and he goes, Peter Davidson, and he says it like Peter. So now whenever I read it, I go Peter, like Tom Green.
Zach and I are stuck in a submarine right now, and we watched the Key and Peele Aaron yesterday.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
There you go.
Are you guys going through? We're going through.
Start the next slide.
Oh, no, go for it. No,
I was gonna say before the nerds, before they have to go, I just wanted to point out your guys' most recent video. I saw that same Reddit post and I had the exact same reaction of being like, "Oh, wait a minute, this is actually really good." But he titled it like in the way that like would just make people not take it seriously. But like
play into the committee.
Actually,
Absolutely.
a solid point.
I had somebody say that
for the sake of people who might not know which theory you're talking about, can you say it out loud?
There's a theory on Reddit that George, the arc of Jaime Lannister and his relationship with Cersei is actually a metaphor for George R. R. Martin's crippling masturbation addiction. And obviously that's not true.
Welcome to the fandom, everybody.
I didn't hear the first half. What is it that's the metaphor?
Jamie's relationship with Cersei,
okay,
and then losing his hand.
Because he loses his sword hand.
Well, that's actually a biblical allegory.
Yeah.
A biblical allegory. Excuse me.
No, it's like really good. Like,
it's meritorious. Yeah.
And I've had somebody say that like that's weird because it speculates about George R. R. Martin's personal sex life. What I say is when you have written and sold and made millions of dollars off of I don't know how many sex scenes, you've opened that door. Like we all know Quentin Tarantino's feet thing.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
That's on him.
Yeah. We're allowed to talk about
he did that.
Also,
I'm going
like George's thing with redheads and freckled chests.
Yeah,
also,
I'm sorry, George, you decided to share that with the world.
Yeah, exactly.
I did a video. It's not coming out yet because I filmed it just a couple days ago. So it's I think it's like 3 or 4 weeks out. But I did a video for Carl the Maid, and I had to discuss the sex scene with Asha in it, and I had to, as a man by myself, try to explain, hey, I'm just reading this as consent, no consent. And I think it's okay because they're both consenting to it. And it was like, I probably sound like a crazy person to people who don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So that's going to be a fun video.
These books are hard to talk about sometimes. And this is just for show. It's not connected to anything, but we do have to leave.
We do.
Oh, you guys have just been holding a dead microphone?
That's
correct. It's never been plugged in this whole time.
That's correct.
Wow.
You guys are fucking
dedication.
All right, have a good one, guys. Thanks for showing up.
You guys are truly wonderful. Have a great night, and don't forget to mention Ligma before you get to the end.
Yes.
Goodbye.
all right.
All right.
You know, those are some interesting nerds.
Quite.
I wonder they should form a club. I wonder what their sandwich would be. Their club sandwich. Mine's just a Reuben. So I don't know. Either that or a Cuban. I had a
If you put Thousand Island dressing on a Cuban,
oof, no, never. Mustard.
that'd be like a Cuban.
Yeah. All right, there we go. Yeah, a Cuban. Yep.
Anyway.
Then there's a Rachel, which is a turkey.
Mm.
I think that's what a Rachel is, a turkey Reuben.
Yeah.
But
you know what? Now I gotta go put corned beef in a friggin' Cubano now.
Get on it. Where are we at? Should I play a clip and then move on?
Sure.
No, you should do something different.
All right. I have an idea. How about this? Every time if you guys if anybody in the comments or any of you guys see a typo on the screen, I have a clip to play. I won't play it yet. But if you do see something spelled wrong, specifically spelled, not me saying something wrong, but not me reading wrong, specifically spelled wrong, let me know because I have a clip to make fun of myself. Okay. All right. So did we finish off Decline of Power? Yeah, we did. Let's get to the Maiden's Bane and the Hungry Wolf. So Joran? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Joran, the first Black Tide, later known as the Maiden's Bane, captured Giles II Garner. That's the one we just heard about. King of the Reach. When their fleets clashed off Misty Isles. After torturing him to death, Joran had Giles' corpse cut into pieces and used them as fish bait with his hooks, calling it a chunk of a king. That's something. Later in his reign, Joran raided the Arbor and supposedly carried off every woman under 30, earning him Maiden's Bane, by which he is best remembered. Isn't it messed up that you can chop up a king and use him to fish with? And then later you do something so messed up that you're not remembered for using a king as fish bait.
Yeah.
That's... Jeez, man.
I'm gonna be real. They should use the fucking Gardener King's name who, got chopped up, and they should nickname him Sharkbait.
Yeah, Sharkbait. and then Giles Sharkbait Gardener. That works. I like it. I also noticed because my Theon the Hungry Wolf video came out a couple weeks ago, and I'm a little, mostly because we've done our Kings of Winter video. Michael and Russ, I believe you were there for that, and we were a little, I would say, critical of the tyrannical that they, just because they're Starks, we don't need to treat them like main character, or the good guys are the main characters.
Yeah.
Theon the ugly wolf, the Hungry Wolf, does just invade the sisters for no reason, invades the Vale for no reason. Yeah, sure, he fights off the Andals, but then he goes across and burns a bunch of villages. And I was a little critical on him, and I found out we are in the way minority because people jumped on me in the comments. No, he's a good king, blah, 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 you're so wrong. And it was
oh no, you've stumbled upon the North Grugs.
Yeah, apparently.
Believe that everything Andal bad.
Yeah.
That side of the community, oh Lord.
Also, there's this big thing on any time, hey man, let's have peace, but if you step out of my land, I can just completely genocide your people. And I know that's just a lot of the vibes a lot of people give off. So the fact that the Andals invaded him, and even though he fought them off, prevented the invasion, he's totally in the right to just go burn random villages. And I was just so anti that. But the point I'm trying to make is we are reading similar stuff. No one's going to be defending these guys because they're not Starks.
No, of course not. The protagonists must always be good. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I would ignore the fact that, Theon Stark, the Hungry Wolf, is called hungry for a reason. He was hungry for war and conquest.
And he's really gaunt, so he looked hungry as well. It's double. I like that. Which we're about to get to, actually. Does anyone have anything for Joran, the chunk of king guy? Besides just Sharkbait being funny. All right. Yeah, getting back to a horror king, Harren. According to your Aaron, There you go. Damp hair. I'll just say the damp hair. He was chosen by King's Bout during the reign of Theon Stark the Hungry Wolf. Harren led a fleet of longships against the western coast of the north. Harren conquered the Stony Shore and burned part of the Wolveswood. Well, Bear Island became a base for reaving for Harren's sons, Ravos the Arwarder. I wasn't going to say his full name. Theon slew Ravos and expelled the Ironborn from his shores. So yeah, it would suck to just be the unlucky dude who happens to be the Ironborn king at the same time Theon the Hungry Wolf was king. It's like, wait, that's the Stark king we're neighbors with? Damn it, we can't do anything we like to do. It's like, Qhored I Hoare was only lucky that all the other kings around him just sucked. So he's able to just conquer everything.
Yeah.
But that's not always the case. Every once in a while there's a badass.
Yep.
No, and this one, besides the fact that here we see the beautiful Ironborn penchant for some fucked up by names. I mean,
Dude.
Ravos the
R-worder. This is what I'm going
R-worder. Sure, let's go with that.
When you first said that, Taco, the R worder, I went with the wrong R word, and I was like,
what?
I was like, I didn't think that word existed in that universe.
Yeah, I bet
I
it
like that
does.
way more.
I was curious.
Who has a better story than Bran?
Well,
That is really
Bran
good.
the R-worder. Wait, what? The problem with that
I
is
am crying.
I said and that one doesn't have an That would be really weird.
Yeah.
Of course, the real word
Honestly,
of our real world is ist and not so it doesn't work either. All right, go.
Yeah.
is that version of the word back enough where you can make an AI version of Peter Dinklage finish off who has a better story than Bran and then just actually have his voice say that? Because technology's not far off where that could be done. Like Rusty, you can make that meme.
It sounds like a scene from South Park, honestly.
Yeah.
It sounds like something that they would just parody the whole scene and just replace that one word.
People don't realize yet that there's a golden age of memes coming once AI can do literally that. Just change one word in a scene seamlessly and actually make it look good.
People already
the memes will be phenomenal. As soon as we're at that level and it's easy, it'll be a whole new wave.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a.
I assume you mean the video memes.
Yeah, video memes are gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
Also known as videos.
No, there's an edit involved.
I forgot my name. I know that's how a lot of people see it, but the fact that I'm answering to this person from the invasion of the Hungry Wolf to ensure no man will cross the sea again. It's not that he did it, it's what he did. So if you just preemptively go and try to take out a rival kingdom, okay, that makes sense. But he burned random fishing villages and then burned a sept, not a castle, not a fort. They call it a fortified sept, which I think is just them covering their asses. And then he took the heads of all the people, which are women and children, right? They're not soldiers, or else they would have probably invaded. I don't know. I'm making assumptions here. But then he took so much that he was able to line the entire eastern coast with heads.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like
that's a little much.
To be fair, that might be exaggeration, but at the same time, if you accept the, at least the somewhat literal translation, that's a lot of heads.
That's a lot of heads.
That's not just one raid on one fortified sept in Essos. That's like a prolonged months-long campaign.
The idea, it doesn't.
I want to make sure I'm not. I want to make sure I'm clear. I'm not justifying it morally, but from a practical standpoint,
that's preventing more invasion.
What else? Because the peasants are a resource. That's why we see the lords in Westeros slaughtering each other's small folk, because you need small folk to produce your wealth.
That completely messed up thing is why why we're supposed to read a lot of this as the Game of Thrones, at least one of the points of the story, at least in my mind, because I think about classism a lot, is this story is about how High Lords who pick wars over not wanting to bang their sister or wanting to bang their sister, so on and so forth, all like over a sword, all these really stupid ways the wars have been justified, and all that dies, all these characters continue to live on, but thousands of peasants are killed, or if they're not, they become broken men, which of course I think is the most important chapter in the entire book series. But what you just said is going off that is George is trying to remind us over people, and who did Theon go and kill? It wasn't a rival king or rival lords, it was their peasants, and that's messed up. And like, you're right, that's the point. Yeah,
and I mean, we did, the firebombing campaign in Europe during World War II would intentionally target, factory employee housing. They considered them legitimate targets.
Yeah, and if you let's get back to it, but yeah, if you want to read, in my opinion, my favorite non-fantasy novel of all time would be Slaughterhouse-Five, by Kurt Vonnegut, which covers that. It's one of my favorite novels ever. It's so good. Anyways, we read Herrig. All right, so Balon Greyjoy, known as the Old Kraken, invaded the western shores of the north, taking Bear Island, again, right after somebody else did, right after the Hungry Wolf took it back, and Cape Kraken in the process. After the Old Kraken died, King Roderick Stark reclaimed Bear Island in a wrestling match while his sons and grandsons battled for Cape.
That sounds like something a Mormont would do.
Well, he gave it to a Mormont. I'm assuming the Mormont was the referee, right?
Probably.
The booker? Was he the booker? Booker man?
No, he was definitely the referee.
Russ, did you get my Booker man joke? That's some
no, I didn't.
Wrestling lore. Okay.
Anyway, I think
I was going to say he was the Paul Heyman.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the reason that Mormont got the fucking island is because he definitely rigged it for Roderick. Like, come on.
He handed him a chair.
Let's be real. Let's be real.
And it's Tormund Stark with a steel chair.
Roderick's about to get pinned, and the Mormont moved his foot to the rope. Like, no.
Oh.
You didn't see it? It's WrestleMania season. You know how many
Yes. Oh my god.
Up here right
Dude,
now.
my partner is so fucking psyched for WrestleMania, and it's cute.
WrestleMania.
It's adorable.
It's like a Super Bowl, but
no, I love it. I love it too. It's just she's more excited about it than I am, and it's fun.
It's like Super Bowl, and there's no Eagles or Chiefs or Packers. I said it, Michael. I know you're an Eagles fan, Stoner.
I mean, WrestleMania was in Philly last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And the Eagles jumped in, right? Didn't Kelsey jump in?
Yeah, I think he did, if I remember correctly. Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I believe so. What was I gonna say? I was gonna say something else. Oh, yeah. Can I pull this guy's name right up the top of my head? Died right before the Attitude Era. Brian Pillman. It's a Brian Pillman reference, Rust. Man. So he's wrestling a dude who books the matches, and of course he's like, it's the dude who picks who wins or loses, and he picked himself. So in the middle of the match, he called him Booker Man, and everyone had to be like, whoa, because it's like just shattering kayfabe. It's like, it's ironic. All right. Wait, I'm way ahead. There you go. No. Yeah, I'm done. We got in. Yeah, we already talked about the wrestling match, and then Cena jumped in, and the lights went down, and Undertaker gave a chokeslam to Herrick.
God, I wish I had been watching wrestling back when Taker was doing his thing.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to the latecomer. Here we are. We're getting to some stuff. We're on slide 6 of 16, guys. This might be a part 1. Euron the Third Greyjoy, known as Euron the Bald, died, and when his younger sons, I know, man, he lost his hair. His younger sons hurriedly convened a king's moot, whilst their elder brother Torgon was raiding up the Mander, convinced one of them would be chosen king. I also do like how Torgon was totally okay with his younger brothers becoming king. Like, that's something I really like about Torgon, is he didn't rush back. He's like, no, as long as somebody...
I thought they were like sneaking behind his back here.
No. It's.
I mean,
okay.
They were, but at the same time, he had the assurance that this is elective monarchy. You can't really exclude a major claimant. I assume Kingsmoots happened.
It states that he didn't rush back because he was okay with one of his brothers, his younger brothers.
Oh, really? Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well, it said right here. Whilst Torgon was raiding up the Manor, convinced one of them would be chosen as High King. Like, he's okay with... Or were they convinced? Am I reading it wrong? The younger brothers...
Yeah, I think
it's saying that his brother sent him no word, hoping that one of them would be chosen.
Okay, yeah, I read it wrong. Never mind. It wasn't him being cool. It was his brothers being a dick. All right. All right, speaking of jerks, we got Euron the Fourth, good brother, also known as a bad brother. Come on, that's got to be one of the worst nicknames we've covered so far, besides the R-worder. He was chosen besides the sons of Euron the Fourth Act. Euron the Fourth's first act, oh my God, was to have all of the latecomers' sons at the Kingsmoot executed, earning him that nickname. He ruled for 2 years and made many enemies due to his cruelty. Torgon returned to the Iron Islands and declared the Kingsmoot decision unlawful because he had not been present, and put forth his claim that was his right. So, yeah, this is 100% Theon foreshadowing, right? That's what's going on. Yeah. And I did my only installment of my A Song of Ice and Fire Librarian, which I was going to do more, but the video didn't do very good. But I wanted to just talk about important books, and that was the first one I chose. Because I do think that when it comes to books that are actually going to affect the main story, like the one that Roderick the Reader gave to Asha about the Torgon the Latecomer, has to be one of the most important, right? But yeah. All right. Leslie, I can keep going because we still have actual Latecomer slide or paragraph, but I do want to state because I keep forgetting and we're into the second hour. Please send in super chats if you actually want us to answer a question, because we have a lot to get through. And also, if you want to send me something that isn't a super chat, so 100% of it goes to me, my PayPal's in the description, which I haven't even been looking. No, I don't think I have a PayPal. And also let me know if you do it, because a lot of times I don't notice because I'm not on my phone. Okay. Torgon the Latecomer. So Torgon Iron was known as Torgon the Latecomer. He revolted, and the priests. Oh yeah, sorry. He revolted, and the priests, small folk, and the lords rallied to Torgon's banner, and Euron was cast down, hacked to pieces by his own captains. Although he was not chosen at the Kingsmoot, Torgon ruled for 40 years, and he ruled fairly, but the Cape of Eagles was lost to House Mallister during this reign. I do like that they didn't state it, but they must have held still for this long, still some of the mainland. And it reminds me so much of like Britain in our real world, about how you only think of Britain as the British Isles, but for like hundreds of years, they had large quantities of France, like Normandy and Brittany was part of Britain for hundreds of, not like 10 years, not during a war, not occupied, but like it was Britain.
Yeah, it was a decent century. So it was not like short. Yeah.
Well, I guess it wasn't hundreds, but it was a while.
I mean, depending, I said 100 because I think that's combined, like for a lot of the territory they held in France. I think because they held Burgundy for much longer than they actually held like Brittany.
Yep.
For example, Burgundy and Normandy were like the two big things they really had. I mean, technically speaking, the UK still holds a bit of the Duchy of Normandy. They're just called the Channel Islands now.
and how you want to look at it, Normandy was actually the ones who were holding Britain, right? Because it was the Norman invasion that took over Britain.
So it's not, you can get pedantic about it.
For a long time, the court was a French court because they were from Normandy.
That's
if I sit like this, it looks like I'm wearing Micheal as a hat.
Oh my god! Thanks for showing up, Rust.
But that whole French thing, that's why we've got the difference between cow and beef and pig and pork. They used the vulgar word when it was an animal, but they used the fancy French word for it once it became food.
And is French is not a Germanic language. That's a Romantic language, right?
I mean, it is descended from Latin, but think of it kind of as a parallel to English, as in it's like the bastard brother that is kind of like very mixed.
Yeah, because
that's kind of how French
English is almost basically just really badly pronounced French.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of.
Almost.
Well, I know that a lot of the Latin languages share so many of the Spanish and Italian share a lot of the same words and pronunciations. But then as soon as you look at French, it's pretty different. And then you look at English.
Yeah. My friend who speaks Spanish can read Portuguese, but they can't converse in Portuguese.
Okay, that makes sense. I just
as someone who speaks Romance languages, that's mostly how it goes. Italian can read Spanish and mostly get what's going on. If you and with Portuguese a bit less, because Portuguese is also a bit weird, but it's not unintelligible. If you read something, it's intelligible. It's kind of
So you want to study Latin in high school because that way you can look at a bunch of different languages and kind of sort of know what's going on.
All right. Pillman's son, he is currently. I love Brian Pillman. All right.
I appreciate the name. Cyclops is better than Wolverine. Discuss.
I mean, it depends on the Cyclops and it depends on the Wolverine. I actually hold them pretty equal.
If we're talking about the Cyclops from the Odyssey, then yeah.
And the Wolverine as the animal, absolutely.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly
what we're talking about. No, I'm a big X-Men guy, and I think Schism type, the comic that ends with those two fighting, and then the X-Men branches off into two different comic books, and one is where Wolverine goes back to the school and reopens it as the Jean Grey School for Gifted Children, and Cyclops stays on at Utopia and does his own thing. I love that comic because both of those versions at that point where those characters are at are just so good. I really love that version of Cyclops, and I really love that version of Wolverine. And the ending of that is so good. Anyways, I don't want to talk about X-Men too long.
I definitely thought you just said both of those virgins.
To be fair, that did sound a bit like virgins, but
my impediment still comes out in certain words, and especially virgin. Yeah, not a big difference. But it pops up. I like it when people comment on it it's hey, I'm blind too, if you want to make fun of that. Yep, I have an impediment. I worked really hard on it. I think that
I was making a sex joke. I didn't know that you were R-worded.
Yeah, thank you.
God.
Hey, that means I'm going to be king. All right. The Great Iron Kings.
Who has a better story than Taco the R?
That's got to be Russ's best joke.
It might be.
It is.
Because he didn't even make the joke. He made us do it in our heads. He said R-worded, and then just, who's got a better story than Bran? And we just all made that connection. Oh, that was good.
Chat, clip that now.
Yeah, clip that and get him canceled. All right, I don't think we can cancel people anymore. I think they stopped doing it.
No, you can't get canceled anymore. It's great.
No, they ruined that.
No, what are you talking about? Not on X.com. You can't.
Nope. All right. Euron, the fourth Greyarn was
That's the first time I've heard someone call it X. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It took me a while to figure out what I was talking. Euron the fourth Greyarn was called upon by his aged father Torgon to help him rule the Iron Islands for the best part of 5 years during War and Peace. When Torgon died, Euron assumed the kingship without a king's moot, and no priest of the drowned god denounced him. Euron's reign was long and undistinguished, and his dying wish was for the high kingship to pass to his great nephew Euron. Let's go with Euron, these names. But the priest demanded that the king's moot be held to select the successor. So apparently it didn't work because Euron's the next guy. So yeah, all right. Should I just keep going to Euron? Does anyone have anything?
Yeah, I think these two are paired together very well, so keep going for now.
All right. Known as Euron Red Hand and Euron of Oakmont, he reigned 5,000 years before the War of the Five Kings. So I'm trying to find where we're at. So that still doesn't make sense, right? Because the Andals were not 5,000 years ago. Weren't they 3? Does anyone have that top of their heads?
I don't think we actually know officially.
But I want to go with the Andal
were like
invasion.
5.
I know I can find out when Justman did.
6,000 years ago, with some sources suggesting a range of 4,000 to 6,000 years before Aegon's landing. This places the invasion.
So this would have been 1,000 years after the Andal invasion. Okay.
Okay. I was thinking they were like 5-ish.
Oh,
and the
we lost Andi.
Like,
when did we lose Andi?
Just now.
Oh,
yeah.
So this would have been 1,000 years after the Andal invasion. Which
are they coming back or are they gone?
Right here.
I don't know.
Oh, perfect.
Dealing. Yeah. Sorry.
No, I missed you, Andi.
Yeah. Russ was really.
Russ looked down and you were gone, and he was just like, "Wait a minute, no." What's wrong?
Me and Michael said that you offended him, or that he offended you, and you left it.
No, fucking my computer has
what
been.
What you said, Russ?
No, my
All right,
is
hold on. Let me try to puke up the cyanide.
Jesus. Oh my god. The problem is somebody's like, Russ, you offended me. He's like, all right, you have to be more specific. Like what? I've had that where it's like, dude, you said something to get them mad. I'm like, dude, you got to narrow it down.
Yeah, you gotta. Yep.
All right. Okay, we're still on Euron. So yeah, this was 5,000 years before the War of the Five Kings. So 1,000 years ish after the Andal invasion. The priestess of the Drowned God were determined not to lose power of king making and the king's moot. So Euron put end to the institution when he descended with his axemen on Naga's Hill on Old Wick, slaying all captains, salt kings, and rock kings, and 100 priests assembled for the choosing. Never mind, this is when it ends. Euron made the high kinship hereditary, calling himself simply King of the Iron Islands. During Euron's reign of 22 years, the rulers of various Iron Islands were reduced to lords, and we lost Andi again. And several ancient lines that refused to bend the knee were extinguished, along with the Kingsmoot. Galen Whitestaff's decree against Ironborn warring with each other ended. Euron Red Hand and his descendants had to deal with a half a dozen major rebellions and at least 2 major thrall uprisings. I wish we learned more about thrall uprisings. That's freaking awesome. Yeah, that's
it's like a wet, damp Spartacus.
Yeah, I like the
wet, damp. I just said damp twice, but whatever.
Yeah, a wet, damp, moist, and humid Spartacus.
Anyway, here we see the fall and decline of democratic institutions who are hijacked by oligarchs.
No, this wasn't hijacked by an oligarch. This was hijacked by a warlord, basically.
I mean, warlord,
so this is how democracy
same old.
With thunderous applause and a bunch of axemen on a hill.
A bunch of priests getting axed.
Yep.
Hey, are you guys all here for the vote? Yeah. Does anyone else hear that?
Yeah.
Dude, that would.
And it's just the Stelio Cantos music from American Dad.
I bet. That's like your third American Dad reference.
That's my second American Dad, and I was conscious of it as I said it. I was like, no more American Dad tonight.
Yeah, that's I can only go to the well twice. It would suck because I bet none of those high kings who showed up for the King's Moot, they just thought it was a normal King's Moot. They probably had no idea that who was it, Torgon or Euron named his son like to be heir. Probably had no idea this whole conflict was showing up, and they're just like, hey, you guys, what do you think of the Farwind guy? Maybe we should make that guy High King, and then just arrows, axes. Like, that sucks. I know.
Otherwise, Gilbert would have been king, and he would have led the fucking Ironborn across the sunset to a land of plenty.
Gilbert was fucking robbed.
I want to start using the word moot as a verb.
Yeah, we're gonna moot.
I just need to. I need to come up with a definition for it.
Well, it's like a thing, not a noun. I mean, like when in Greenland when they would vote back in the day, when Norse. It would
you moot about it.
Like
you get together and you moot about who should be king.
Yeah.
Oh, so he was using a real word.
Yeah, moot's a real word.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
moot is from Scandinavian tradition.
Got it.
I believe that's close to
I think I actually
thing.
kind of knew that. Either way.
Wasn't Adam Copeland Edge a Viking raider? I think he was actually in the TV show Vikings. Anyways.
Oh. That's a good question.
Yeah, look it up. I think that's true. All right, so this is the transition from High Kings of the Iron Island to Kings of the Iron Island. So that's 7 of the 16 slides. They made a pretty good run. And we're halfway through. And we still have so much.
We do.
Yeah, we got to need. Does anyone?
What show did you think he was on?
He was in Vikings. He had
Vikings. Okay.
Yeah. Adam Copeland. You went mute, so you must be looking up. Anyone got anything about the fall of democracy before we move on? If you want to call a king democracy, which I don't.
So yeah, you are correct. It was just I the first thing I searched was Adam Copeland's acting credits, and it didn't bring up Vikings. But once I searched for Vikings with his name, it was there. So, but he was apparently in Highlander Endgame and Bending the Rules and Money Plane.
A Highlander movie? Okay, here we are.
Yep. Highlander Endgame from 2000.
All right, back to this. Cyclops Better Wolverine. Roger is okay. Yeah, I know. I said no politics. I'll stop. You bet.
The question is, will we stop?
No. I know that if I ask most of these guys to stop, they know that means a comment here or there. And you know what? I'll be okay with it as long as it doesn't become a discussion. I'm an anarchist. All right, you guys cool? I'll move on to the next one because I actually really like how the Horror Dynasty starts off. All right. We got one more Grey Iron. Ragnar, the second Grey Iron, was the last king of the Iron Islands from House Grey Iron. So we missed out on the entire dynasty. It's just not talked about. They're like, hey, we're going to make it hereditary. And then we hear about the first and then the last. So, yeah.
To be fair, timeline-wise, I don't think there's a lot of time, considering some of the pre-Grey Iron dynastic succession stuff happened during or after the Andals.
Well, and how many times was it like, oh, this is the first... Yeah, where was it? It was the first Black Tide... No, the first good brother we hear about was a Euron the Fourth. And it's the first
we obviously do not have the whole history.
No, not at all. Yeah, we don't have...
Euron the Fourth sounds like a type of plastic.
Euron 4, the newest anti-aging cream.
Yeah, I would
just die.
Yeah, better than Ben Gay. Ragnar the Third was the last king of the Iron Islands.
I've been gay.
I know. Grey Iron. Grey Iron. Yeah, you had bad skin. It's said to have ruled the Iron Islands for 1,000 years, even though we don't learn anything about them until the coming of the Andals. Wait, that's not accurate. Ragnar, we know that one's false. Ragnar II was brought down by pirates, sellswords, and warlords. Wow. Andals who came from the Iron Island or came to the Iron Islands and allied with the Orkwoods, Drums, Haars, and Grey Irons.
Greyjoys,
thank you. He was succeeded by Harren Hoare, who, according to a tale, won the crown in a contest of the finger dance. Now, let's talk about that really quick. I know that's the name of my channel, but the entire Horror Dynasty, the first one, there's two, right? it ends here. There's a little break. But the Hoare dynasty is kicked off because of a game of the finger dance. And a dude won, lost 2 of his fingers, and then started a dynasty. That's awesome. I love the random, the chaos of that. Of like, oh, how did your house rule for 1,000 years? Well, one of my descendants lost 2 fingers but didn't pussy out. That's
the
awesome.
Butterfly effect.
Yeah. And who knew that the guy with a nickname Stump Hand would start a dynasty for 1,000 years?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Harris Hoare, known as Harris Stumphand, was chosen king, although he lost 2 fingers in the process, earning his nickname. Archmaester Herrig instead suggested that Harris come to power by marrying the daughter of an Andal warlord, and Harris ruled for 30 years. So we're going to start the failed Andalization of the Iron Islands, and that's something that you're going to see coming up here. So Wulfgar Hoare, known as Wulfgar the Widowmaker. There you go. First misspelled. I just said R aloud. Did allow? He
maybe
allowed?
Just allowed.
Yeah. All right. Well, since that technically is messed up spelling, so I'm gonna play this.
I know. Let's have a spelling contest.
Sorry, I just wanted more Val Kilmer today. And Val Kilmer, Doc Holliday, dying of tuberculosis is my 3rd favorite Val Kilmer. Maybe he's my number 1 favorite. I don't know. Where do you guys rate your Val Kilmers? All right,
I would have to really think about that, actually. I don't have one off the top of my head to give you. I would have to.
Yeah.
Not Bruce
Unfortunately,
Wayne.
neither do I.
Doc Holliday is my favorite.
Yeah, Doc. Honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a bad portrayal of Doc Holliday. Like he's just such a cool cat that anybody that plays him is automatically transformed into a cool person.
So I just rewatched Tombstone, because I watched a bunch of Val Kilmer movies, and I forgot how absolutely amazing he is as Doc Holliday in that movie. His portrayal is so fucking good. But anyways, I'll be a Huckleberry. That's why I use so many of them. All right, Wulfgar allowed the construction on a Greywick of the first sept in the Iron Islands. The horror kings of this era were opposed by the priests in Drown God because of their support of the Faith of the Seven, discouraging reaving and promotion of trade. This will be true for the next 8 kings. Okay, the reason why I said that last little bit, this will be true for the next 8 kings, is because in the description of every one of these kings, if you go to their wiki, it was pretty much half of these next guys I'm about to cover is their nickname, and then this sentence: the horror kings of this era were opposed by priests of the Drown God because of their support for the Faith of the Seven, discouraging reaving and promotion of trade. I just didn't want to repeat that sentence 8 more times. So just keep in mind the next 8 kings that we cover will have that sentence, even though I didn't use it. So yeah. All right, we got Hoare Dynasty going up to the Shriek, which is probably my favorite time of the Ironborn history. So, one got anything before we move on?
No, but
I feel like we should just saying that trading is pretty based, actually. That's all.
It is
good idea.
Trading.
It is.
Trading. Yeah, trade is good. I think.
It
is. I
is,
think it's generally been a great idea.
Is it though?
Keep it down.
Keep
it down.
I'm
Are you sure commerce is good?
All right, guys.
So that's kind of one of the things that kind of sometimes and I've had this conversation with others before, but it's something that kind of irks me about A Song of Ice and Fire is how the Ironborn are supposed to be XPs of Vikings in this, right?
Yeah, kind of.
The problem, surface level, I'm talking.
Yeah, very surface level. They're like Vikings, pirates, Irish. Yeah.
Yeah, the problem there within lies that some of the most notorious traders of Europe at that period were the Vikings themselves.
They were the greatest traders of their time. They would literally take the river Rhine down and trade with Constantinople. Not raid them, trade with them. And they would take the entire, I said Rhine, not Rhine.
You said
Rhine,
I think.
Yeah, and that's the version of the Rhine in here. But yeah, is it the Rhine, right? The river I'm thinking of? The one that
that's not the river they used to get to Constantinople.
Which one is the one that they could take all the way from the North Sea all the way down?
There was none. The closest one they had was the Dnieper.
I swear
they portage to one in Crusader Kings 2. You can portage to one specific river and then take the river down.
Yeah,
so I think Taco was talking about a real thing.
I swear there was a real thing where they could take a river all the way.
I don't think they would let you do that in CK2 if that wasn't a real thing.
Yeah, no,
no.
I've read about it. I know it's a real thing.
No, it's definitely a real thing. It's just that to go to Constantinople, the closest route was go to like Western Russia, portage. Go to one of the Russian rivers that flows into the Black Sea, and from there go over to
That's what you did, yeah.
I thought there was one Mediterranean up.
I mean, they also did go in the Mediterranean, but Constantinople is
what we're trying to make is the Viking stand-in and here trade is like, no, we don't trade. And of course, real life Vikings had a
we do not sow.
Yeah.
Which is some awesome.
I mean,
all their clothes are falling apart.
Yeah,
we do not sow. I don't need a patch.
No. Meanwhile, real Vikings in the off season they went home to farm.
My mom does all my sewing for me.
So she is not.
She sews all the patches on my battle jacket.
Battle jacket.
She puts all the band patches on my jean jacket. I mean, I used to have a jean jacket with a bunch of band patches, so I can't select.
I had it was a German army surplus jacket with like a hoodie sewn inside of it.
Hell yeah.
That was my patch jacket.
I had a suit jacket that had a big anarchy sign on the back.
A suit jacket with an anarchy sign?
I wore suit jackets. I still do. It's my like when
That's
everyone
cool.
else is in like hoodie weather, like spring and fall, I wear sports coats because I find them extremely comfortable, and also there's extra pockets. And I don't like hoodies. I'm just not a sweatshirt guy, and I really like sport coats. And it's distinguished. I get a lot of compliments. People say nice jacket a lot. And
I like the just that's a really good place to put an anarchy symbol is all.
Yeah. I mean, I put them everywhere, but that was just one specific one. I'd also just spray paint.
No, you don't.
I would also spray paint.
No, you don't.
Vulgar, offensive sentences just to piss people off on the back. Which
there's a comedian on TikTok that makes booty shorts that have like depressing things on them.
That's good. I like the idea of a boot. Like you read somebody's butt and it's just like a really awful statistic. Like, oh,
yeah.
There's a 100% chance that if you're reading my butt, you will die in the future. No. All right, Qhored I Hoare. How many H words? God, these names are awful. All right, known as Horgang. Oh wow. Horgan.
It's Morgan, but with an H. It's
Horgan. Thank you. Horgan, the priest killer.
Mm-hmm.
He was the great grandson of King Wulfgar Hoare when Horgan allowed the building of the Sept on Oldwick, which was once the site of the Holy Kingsmoot. Ooh, that's messed up. The priests of the drowned god rose in rebellion. According to Archmaester Herrig, Horgan responded by slaughtering these priests. Yeah, hence priest killer. And then let's just get these four out of the way because it's literally just a nickname. There's Fergon, who was known as Fergon the Fierce. Uthgar, known as Uthgar the Soulless. And then Uthgar again, known as Uthgar the Demon Lover. Heck yeah. And this is during their religious time. And then Craighorn, which we almost went with naming my kid Craighorn. We decided with something different, but we almost went with Craighorn. Was known as Craighorn the Red Smile. Heck yeah! So there you go. Those are those are the houses that were during the time of the pushing the Faith of the Seven and trade. So
Yeah,
I guess the Soulless and the Demon Lover going back to back is definitely a weird. I wonder what happened there.
It's a George joke. So he does a lot of those of like when he's going to list like king names. I shouldn't have took a bite of my Mounds bar and then start talking. But he does it a lot with the Kings of Winter too. When he starts naming, right, or whatever king, he'll be like, oh, and then the Kings of the Reach, there was Morn the Funny, and then Morn the Humorless. You know, like he does a lot of those, like Benjen the Sweet and Benjen the Bitter.
Yeah.
He does a lot of those.
Isn't there also
what the hell is a Craghorn?
It's a name.
Is that all it is? It's not like they're not like naming him after something.
To be fair, I do think he is like I do have an out of like universe kind of explanation for him. I think he is kind of a reference to Craghorn Euron's mute, who is the one who blows the dragon by the horn at the Kingsmouth. That's the name is Craghorn, just without the H.
Yeah,
and then Craghorn. I wonder.
Eagle 2 started on fire. God.
Chekhov's horn.
I hate the idea of how they describe his lungs just burning.
Yeah, that made me
gives me such a visceral reaction to my body.
We've all imagined that after taking a giant bong rip, but like having it actually like
I have never done that.
having it. Oh, you smoke. No, bongs are for tobacco. Didn't you see the sticker on it when you bought it? It's perfectly legal.
I never bought one. I only made mine. I never paid for one because I was under 18 when I was.
Okay, well, the law says that when you make it, you have to put a sticker on it that says for tobacco use only. Otherwise, you were breaking the law, Taco.
I do.
And if anyone calls it anything but a water pipe, you kick them out.
Yes.
Pipe. Yeah.
Exactly. But you can have a hookah.
Yeah.
And you can call it a hookah, even though it was designed for smoking opium.
Yeah, and they were designed for caterpillars to smoke.
Yeah, in particular.
Yeah.
That is a fun fact, Taco. I did not know that.
They turn funny colors when they smoke it.
Oh man, that's wild.
Is
it like any caterpillar? Can I just find any caterpillar and get them high?
What
was that?
So.
Just the one that's sitting on the mushroom.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Shows how much I know.
Okay.
Anyone else know what I'm doing right now? No?
I'm not going to be back in West Virginia for a while, though.
I know the reference you're making. I know. I'm on to you.
I sing Jefferson Airplane's White Rabbit to my infant kids because it's a song that I know and it's haunting and it puts them to sleep. It's very melodic, like it works for a lullaby, and I just don't know a lot of lullabies. And it's just I'm gonna find more entertainment out of singing the song I actually like. They can't understand the lyrics, and I did it with my daughter when she was, from age 0 up to like 2. And
hold on. I'm sorry. You're saying that from age 0 to 2, you sang White Rabbit to your daughter to put her to sleep? Yes?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, just checking.
No, that's it. And so I was singing it to my new son, who's only 2 weeks old. And my daughter's like, what are you singing? I was like, I used to sing it to you. So I played her the song, and she's been obsessed with it since I showed it to her like 2 days ago. So every time we're in the car, we've been listening to White Rabbit. And it's a baller song. So I got nothing to get.
To be fair, it is a baller song. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite, because it's just all build up, and right when it peaks, they end the song. It's so good. But anyways, anytime I hear hookah, I just went to hookah smoking caterpillar has given you the call. So that's why I went there. So yeah, that's it. Should I play the nerd one at myself right now?
Okay. All of us deserved it because we got it. Anyway, Cyclops is better than Wolverine says, I got a volcano vaporizer. It's the best.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, you can actually get something that does the same thing for like a quarter the price. It's a Riser, Arizer, the Extreme Q. I used that thing for a really long time back when I got my first medical card.
And the man on the chessboard.
Well,
it's just because the volcano's
this video,
like $600.
this stream is sponsored by Riser.
By Jefferson Airplane. All right.
By Jefferson.
All right. Let's get to the Shriek because he is. I covered him for a short for my Halloween for October. I did spooky shorts, and I covered the Shriek, and I probably would not have known about this era of Ironborn history if I didn't do that, and I love it.
Nice.
This is my new favorite era of Ironborn, so I can't wait to share with you guys. So it all starts with after the third one. So yeah, Tormund the First, known as Tormund the Host, was the first literate Iron King. 6,000 years, guys. Wow. All right. That's so hilarious. And he was very fond of books. He was Harmon the Reader. From his seat on Great Wick.
Fucking nerd.
Fucking nerd.
Yeah.
He welcomed travelers and merchants from to the Iron Islands. He also protected the Septas and the Faith. You know your dynasty in the Iron Islands is going to fail as soon as you start reading and hang out with priests. Like, you know, the rest of the Ironborn's like, all right, we got to burn these guys.
Correction. It's only gonna crash your entire fucking state if you're hanging out with the wrong priest. If you hang out with the right priest,
the drowned priest.
Yeah, exactly.
I just like the idea of like baptism taken one step further.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like, don't just drip
the
water
first
on
time
my
I
head,
read
man.
that.
Murder me and bring me back. It's hardcore. I love it. All right, so Harmon II was known as Harmon the Haggler. He spent his youth as a ward of House Lannister, of Castle Rock. A great traveler, Harmon II is said to have been the first Iron King to visit the mainland Westeros in peace. Wow. Once king, he married Lady Laena Lannister, the daughter of the King of the Rock. He also visited Highgarden and Old Town to discuss trade. Like, we're literally getting to probably the most powerful that they can be in the most Westerosi. Like, these are really good moves. You're marrying a Lannister. You're actually,
man, he married up,
making deals, and it all is gonna go to shit. In like one more sentence. He also, where was I? He also followed both. Okay, so Harmon followed both Drowned God and the Faith of the Seven, and he spoke of the 8 gods. He believed that the Drowned God was an aspect of the Stranger, which angered many of the Ironborn. Wow. Yeah, you think?
Do you think so?
Hey, what about the 8? Oh, yeah? Which one's the Drowned God? The demon one. Excuse me?
It's like when Egypt briefly had a monotheistic pharaoh, and then they just went back and like chiseled his existence out of the records. They're just like, nope,
Yeah.
we're done with you.
I was going to say,
Throwing
if there's one thing religions love, it's when you take their gods and mesh them together with the neighbor's gods and be like, yeah, this is all the same thing, right? Like, they love
they love that.
Unless you're the Romans, then you love doing that.
Romans did that a lot in early Christianity. Cough, cough. All right. So let's get to Harmon III. So Harmon the Handsome, which is really funny because I'm about to say some messed up stuff, outraged the Ironborn and the priests by outlawing reaving and salt wives. Bruh, what are you thinking? The priest known as the Shriek led a rapid rebellion, and Harmon was cast down, mutilated, losing his eyes, tongue, and nose. Harmon the Handsome.
That's a lot of stuff to lose.
Can I just say, I think it's the Shrike.
Is it the Shrike? I've been saying Shriek. I know that.
Yeah, I think it's Shrike, like that one psychopathic bird that impaled.
I did. Yeah, I had to go look at what word you were reading to see what we were talking about.
So I read it wrong. All right, let's have a spelling contest. Okay.
Well, here's the thing: is like I would say that is Shrike, but I don't know that in universe
Well,
it's necessarily
in
Shrike.
universe, there's also something called the Shrikes, spelled with a Y. They're those lizard monsters near the Five Forts. So I don't know. They might
like to bring up. George says Dothraki. None of the spelling means anything.
Yeah,
pronounce it how you.
Oh God. Like how Robert Jordan said in a letter that the Sean Chan in the Wheel of Time were supposed to have Texas accents, and I'm just like, no. You're wrong. You're wrong.
Don't remind me.
I don't know, man. David Reeds uses a Long Island accent for Brienne, and I used to hate it, and now I love it. Looking for a mate of 2 and 10 with high boy hair. Like, I fucking love it, dude. I used to like.
Harshest Long Island. It is now.
I haven't done the David and Brienne chapters. Now I have to.
Dunk the Tall, played by Pete Davidson.
But no, I like David Reeds makes really bold choices. And when I first went through it, I was like, no, what are you thinking? And now, because I always listen to it, because I probably listen to at least 1, if not 4 chapters like a week, because I usually do at least 1 chapter for every video I write. And now I like the reach our Southern Bells, like in my head, because that's how it reads. Like, like all the Tyrells have like that Southern, like, well, bless my britches. Like, that's how he like.
Yes.
And for like Olenna specifically, because she says a lot of those, like, well, I'd be a tall-tailed cat. Like she has like those weird speech patterns. And it's like so
what accent does he do for Old Man?
I think he just does a normal voice for Old Man.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think he does. He doesn't do anything too weird for anyone in the North. He normally just does. And he has like a grab bag of like 10 different voices. But Davos is a Southern accent too. Davos Seaworth.
Davos.
Like that. Yeah.
Fucking hate.
Like a hate.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I mean, Brienne,
Father, why do you have a hayseed on your banner?
Well, I smuggled in some hay seeds during the Siege of Storm's End.
Unfortunately, you can't eat hay seeds. I didn't know that. Apparently, you have to grow them first.
I smuggled in the only wagon of hay seeds in the entire Dust Bowl, and it allowed them to plant new hay and end the whole thing.
That's why I got one on my banners.
Basically.
Yeah, that is kind of what happened. But I do love, Brienne Long Island accent's amazing. I used to hate it. Now it's
and this is, what is this? David Reed's, it's called?
David Reed's A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah.
Okay.
He has every chapter and every Dunk and Egg on his YouTube channel. So that's what I listen to. And yeah, I
wonder if he's allowed to monetize that.
I think it's different enough. He changes. You can hear his cats in the background. Like, it's not professionally done. I don't know. But I love it. And yeah, I suggest anyone who wants to like listen to the books but doesn't but wants to do it on YouTube, I usually say David Reed's kicks butt. But yeah. Anyways, the Craycall dynasty? What?
Oh yeah, that did happen.
Yeah, for a little bit.
This is like the Ptolemies showing up in Egypt.
Hagon Hoare, known as Hagon the Heartless, took the throne when his elder brother Harren III was held captive and being mutilated by you're going with Shrike? The Shrike and other priests. Hagon quickly expelled the Faith of the Seven from the Iron Islands, and he allowed his mother, Queen Lyanna Lannister, to also be mutilated by the Shrike, and then sent back to her family home at Casterly Rock. This outraged her outraged nephew, the King of the Rock, responded by invading the Iron Islands. I left out the specific.
What was he upset about?
Because his aunt was
I'm joking.
Mutilated.
I'm joking.
And I left out the specific mutilation. I won't speak of it now.
Thank you.
To say it was worse than what her son got. It was worse than eyes and lips and nose.
Oof.
Yeah, no, it's really, really bad.
All right.
I don't want to go out on a limb here, but
next.
The Shrike, a bit of a jerk. Yeah.
You know the more I hear about this guy.
Yeah, I don't want to tell tales out of school, but this guy, a bit of a jerk. All right, so Aubrey Crakehall was a knight from House Crakehall, and in the 7th year of fighting, Aubrey defeated the army of Hagon the Heartless on Great Wick. He considered restoring the throne to Harmon, who had been found in a dungeon. Yeah, I bet he wouldn't have been a great leader at that point. But instead, it gave the broken man the gift of mercy. And Aubrey had Hagon mutilated the same way that, did I say Layla had been, and then had him hanged. He also ordered that Horror Castle be razed instead of returning to the Westerlands. Surprisingly, Aubrey Crakehall declared himself king of the Iron Islands. The Lannisters did not support this decision, and King Aubrey was overthrown by the Ironborn after 6 months, and the Shrike drowned him as a sacrifice of the Drown God. The fact the Shrike is still operating, like, he reminds me, he's like the Robespierre of or Robespierre. What's his name? Robespierre. I did his name wrong.
It was
from the French Revolution.
Yeah, he's like the French Revolution dude who never really, he doesn't want the throne right away, but he's just like the revolution guy.
I was thinking he sounded like the I forgot the word now. The thing from the Fallout show.
Which one?
The one played by the main character, whose name I've also forgotten. That's
Walton
it. Thank
Goggins?
you. Yeah, Ghoul.
I love Walton Goggins. He,
Mhm.
was really good in the 3rd season of White Lotus, and also he's really good in Invincible, which is coming out at the same time. And his character
And Righteous Gemstones.
Yeah, they were just also coming out at the same time. Yeah, dude, Walton Goggins gets around, man. Which is great because he was like just a
And
character.
he's good at all of it.
Yeah, he's super good, and he was just a character actor for like 20 years, and then the last like 5 years, people finally were like, "Dude, so Walton Goggins is super good." I think I noticed in Hateful Eight and Vice Principals, I was like, "Okay, so this dude's actually like uber talented." All right, Return of the Hoare Dynasty. So Qhored I Hoare, known as Qhored the Cunning, was a shrewd king of the Iron Islands who avoided war and instead gathered wealth during his reign. He tripled the size of House Hoare's fleets and ordered the creation of additional armament to dissuade enemies from attacking. So he's like a good king. Qhored's eldest son died of grayscale. And when Qhored was dying when his 3rd son, Harwin, would return to the Iron Islands from adventuring for 2 years. Don't worry, we'll get to him in a second. The king's middle son, Prince Harlan Hoare, died after falling from his horse while Qhored was lying ill. Weird. Though it was said to be an accident, Harlan's death was considered suspicious, especially when King Qhored passed 6 days later. So yeah, like my dad's in his deathbed. Oh, my younger brother showed up. Oh, oops.
Yeah, sounds a little familiar.
A little fishy.
Sounds a lot like a situation that happens in the Iron Islands.
Yeah, I was gonna say a bit more crabby than fishy.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you went right to Balon Greyjoy. Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. But
yeah.
I was going to Rhea Royce.
That too.
Because of the fall off a horse. Yeah. Check out my Let's Talk About the Difference video for Rhea Royce.
Also, I was kind of curious if the Shrike was ever brought up in the main series. Victarion names a cog that he captures, the Shrike. Or Shrike. And also in Game of Thrones, Catelyn refers to some birds as snow shrikes. So it is also a bird in World as well.
Okay. That makes sense. Well, because he is kind of like a bird.
Yeah.
He's
is
not,
there
like
in our world, is there a bird called a shrike?
Yes.
I feel like there is for some reason. Okay.
Yes, the shrike is a songbird that is kind of related to finches, and it's pretty sadistic. It's it impales its like prey onto
it's
like
a
sharp
carrion
spikes.
bird. Oh, those are the
It's
best.
not exactly a carrion bird. It catches live animal like small mice and just brings them up to sharp, thorny bushes and or
Right.
trees, and just
Right.
impales them in said thorns.
Yeah.
in order
I
to
remember
kill them.
seeing stuff about
Is
that.
that not the carrion bird I'm thinking of? That like it was on one like planet Earth or whatever, but you could see like a bunch of like lizards that had just had impaled on thorns for later. I don't know. It was super sick. I just remember
It
like
might
that's
have-
probably
it
why he
might
got
have
his
been
name.
a strike.
that
Yeah.
that bird listens to Norwegian death metal. That was all my thought. Like that. You know, like when his car's like a block away because it's just cranking black metal. Like, oh, the Shrike's here.
The other
thing
thing
is,
I
he
looked up-
listens to Norwegian black metal, but he's not Norwegians because Norwegians would be too self-conscious to blast it.
Is that true? I have a lot of friends.
No,
that
they're
have-
polite people.
Norwegian
That's
people.
why.
Yeah, they're just casually listening to. Oh, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Welcome to
The other
Scandinavia.
thing I
That's
looked
what we
up-
do.
Go ahead, Michael.
The other thing I looked up was sharks. I was curious, like, does he bring up sharks in the series?
Not
And
often.
No, it doesn't happen until a Feast for Crows, and then like once in Feast and twice in Dance, he mentions like shark fin soup and like a couple other things. But
yeah, not often. Sharks
Yeah.
are not super huge, and I don't
And-
think they're on a sigil at all.
yeah, I didn't see
No,
any.
they're not.
So
Not
yeah,
that
that's
I
why
know.
I was like, oh, it's a weirdly not that mentioned animal, and I was curious if he had brought them up at all, and only a couple.
Are
times.
there any like real world? I know that like real world cultures. I know a lot of this stuff is based off of like England and Scotland. But are there any real world cultures where houses or families really associated themselves with animals like that?
Yeah, well, besides Britain with lions and
Right. So like inside of Britain, were there like competing families with different animals on their banners, or
It was like sometimes they would
little-
have things that weren't animals, but yeah, like they would
Like
use
flower.
heraldry and stuff.
yeah.
right?
I know French had a
The
lot.
animal part was not the important part. The important part was heraldry.
Okay.
Are we ready to get to Harwin? Because he is the only person that split between two. This guy's got a big one. Harren the Hoare, known as Harwin Hardhand, in his youth, Harwin raided the Stepstones and visited free cities. He was captive in the Basilisk Isles for 2 years. That's hardcore. He served as a sellsword in the Disputed Lands and also joined the Second Sons, which is a thing back then. That's crazy. With whom he fought in several battles. So keep in mind, this was the guy who we talked about in his father's chapter, where he is the third son who was gone for a few years.
Mm.
So that's this dude. Also, it said he was adventuring for 2 years, but he was captive for 2 years. So that's, yeah.
That's some good PR. That's what you
Yes.
say.
Yeah. Let's just not.
Jamie was adventuring in the Riverlands for a while too.
Yes, it was. And
All right.
now he's went off to adventure again.
Yeah.
Following Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah. Follow
It's like when Uncle Paulie went to college in Youngstown in The Sopranos.
Dude, I knew exactly where you're going, man.
My God.
Oh man, I was in college in Youngstown. So once king, he saw their strengthened forces. Yeah, because his dad was a shrewd lord who just built the strength, and then this dude's like, "Hey, thanks for building that army, Dad." It's amazing. So yeah, he saw the strengthened forces as a weapon to be used, and he planned the invasion of the Riverlands, which were weakly held by Storm King Arek Durandon. Harwin. Yeah, dude, the guy who reads the worst is the guy who's reading all these. So I'm glad you guys are patient with me. Harwin.
You don't have to double check with us each time for the pronunciations.
I do. I still will. I don't know. Harwin led 100 Ironborn longships and landed south of Seaguard and then carried the ships overland to the Blue Fork. Sir Samuel Rivers, a small Yes, Sir Samuel Rivers' small host was shattered by Harwin's charge at Tubblestone, and then he defeated the army of Agnes Blackwood, who was betrayed at the battle by Luthar Bracken. Oh man, those Blackwoods and Brackens. Harwin was impressed with Agnes's defiance and offered her to become his salt wife, but he killed her when she refused. Classic Ironborn.
Hey, bitch, you want to make some real money?
Hey, you want to be my salt wife? No. All right, I don't want to anyways. Kill her.
All right, what a fucking bitch, man.
All right. Continuing. Harwin continued. The Storm King Auric then met Harwin in battle at Fairmarket, aided by many river lords invading Luthar, or including, there you go. I said invading, including Luthar Bracken and lords Charlton, Goodbrook, Page, and Viprin. The horrors crushed the Stormlanders, and Auric's rule over the Riverlands collapsed. The Rivermen had hoped to regain their independence and celebrated at first, but Harwin retained control for himself. Lord Bracken rose in rebellion 6 months later, which resulted in him starving to death in a crow cage. Woof. Harwin spent most of his reign ruling and suppressing rebellions in the Riverlands rather than in the Iron Islands. Harwin died in bed with a salt wife at the age of 64. So...
Okay, if you die of starvation in a crow cage, that's because they're giving you water to make it last longer.
Oof. Yeah. So he was probably in that for like 40 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he didn't die of dehydration. Yeah, you're right. So that's prolonging the pain. Oof.
Yep.
So yeah, Harwin, even though we had like Qhored I Hoare and a few others, Harwin's got to be the most successful period, right? Like if you want to consider invading and conquering success, because he takes the Riverlands rather easily, like rather well, and continues to hold it for at least 2 generations until Harren the Black. So, yeah.
Like if you're playing Crusader
Harren the
Kings,
African American,
you're proud of.
Oh no! I'm sorry. What about Creator Kings? If you're playing,
I was going to say if you're playing Crusader Kings, this would be the time you were the most proud of, probably.
I do like. I've been watching a lot of map YouTube lately, where they're just videos about maps, and it was just a guy.
You watch Map Men?
No, this is General Knowledge. Is who I'm about to reference.
Okay. But you should check out Map Men. They're both educational and hilarious.
Right.
You should.
General Knowledge did a country's borders at their peak, and it's really funny of like how so many kingdoms or countries or whatever you want to say, like they're small now, but they blew up, took over all of Europe, and then got down to something tiny. And then another one blew up, took over all of Europe, and got down to something tiny. And it's like kind of what's going on with the Iron Islands. Like blew up, took over all the Riverlands, and then that's how like every country that survives now for at least like 10 years ruled everything.
So I mean, that's what makes the racism in Europe so interesting, right? Like it's all historical.
Yeah, because
they're all just
point,
like, they were all in charge at one point, and they still all think it's that point. Like,
I'm just I don't know the geography as well as Tormund here, but like I'm just pulling these out of my butt. But like one town in Poland was at one point Austrian, Hungarian, German, French, and Spanish. Because at one point all of them took over, everything. Probably not Spanish. It's the only one. I think all the other ones is accurate, actually. But yeah. I just find that really funny of the idea of like, oh, that tiny little country in Eastern Europe at one point had all of it, and then it was gone, and now it's just beep. But yeah. Okay. We're finally into the last dynasty before modern, so let's do it. Hoare succeeded his father, King Harwin, as king of the Isles and Rivers, and Halleck visited Iron Islands only 3 times for a total of 2 years. So yeah, totally like he's like more Riverland than Ironborn. The remainder of his time was spent in the mainland of Westeros, warring against neighbors of the Riverlands. He was not as successful as his father, who was defeated in wars against. And was defeated in wars against the Westerlands, Stormlands, and the Vale. Excuse me. He was succeeded in, but he did succeed in extending control east to Duskendale and Rosby. However, sorry, I've been awake for a very long time. I'm tired.
I was kind of dealing with the exact same problem of zoning out. And keep in mind, it is 6 a.m. in the morning for me.
Yeah, I know.
Here in Europe.
I
woke up for this early because I was like, I'm going to wake up early anyway. I'm going to holiday.
That's rough.
Yeah, no, Audie, like
I don't mind staying up for something, but getting up early, ugh.
You make me feel so bad because I realize how much I just like completely sacrifice a whole day in sleep just to be on.
No,
like,
you
dude,
know
really
what's gonna happen? I'm gonna have a marathon of a day, and then I'm gonna arrive on holiday in Egypt, and I'm just gonna be able to relax.
That's awesome. So, yeah, you told me that. That sounds great.
Take pictures.
I will.
Take pictures of all the underground structures that all the conspiracy theorists are on about.
If we end up going next to the pyramids, I will strive to do so.
Please watch Mini Minutemen's video on that.
I love him. I love
it. Is amazing.
Channel.
Yeah, I love it.
If you can find, when you're in Egypt, if you can find any type of memorial or statue or anything of Anwar Sadat, I would like a photograph of that.
If you can find
let me write that down.
Any power plant underneath the
I'm sorry, I don't think the pyramids are Storm's End.
But bring one of those iPhones that charges by touching the charge pad anyway, and put it on the pyramid just in case.
Just to see, man.
Just in case. Yes.
Is it QI compliant or whatever? Whatever the wireless fucking compliance
We don't
is.
know that they're charging pads because we haven't built the things that they charge yet. We just need to re-engineer.
You walk into the Great Pyramid and your phone connects to a Wi-Fi, and you're like, "What's the Wi-Fi?" And it's written in hieroglyphs. Like, what the
Imagine 10
the password.
10,000 years from now, they find our iPhone charging pads, and they're just like, "Well, these must have been tombs. Clearly, they were tiny little tombs for little people."
No. Those were ritual objects used in rituals.
Embalming. Yeah.
Okay, so you know how the whole reason that coal exists is because trees evolved like 200,000 years before bacteria that could eat dead trees evolved.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm wondering how far in the future they're going to be like digging wells to tap the plastic that this plastic layer that we've created on Earth.
Totally.
Like, I wonder how far in the future they're going to be like tapping off those fossil fuels to poison the atmosphere some more.
That's so good. All right. Harren the Black. You guys ready?
I would legitimately think about that.
No, that's awesome. That's a really good thought. The idea of like, oh, this is back when they didn't have a way to get rid of their plastic. Bacteria didn't eat plastic yet. Way back in the day. These
they had the plastics in their blood.
We will probably invent that quicker than nature if we don't destroy everything first.
We already have invented plastic eating bacteria.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, we've got bugs that eat plastic and styrofoam and shit, but like, I haven't looked too far into it. I don't know if they're converting it into anything else or if they're just passing it as like smaller bits of plastic. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Harren the Black. Harren Hoare, known as Harren the Black or a Black Harren, was a vain, bloody tyrant hated by most that he ruled. Well, Halleck ruled from a modest tower in Fairmarket. Harren desired a grander seat, and he commanded the construction of a grand castle. I don't know if you guys ever heard of this castle called Harrenhal?
No. I think that must be some obscure of the World of Ice and Fire lore.
What a ridiculous name for a castle, bro.
Hardcore lore. It's definitely not probably the most important castle in the entirety, or just location.
Yeah, nothing
itself in the
important
entirety of the
happened.
game.
It sounds.
It kind of
really
sounds like
impressive.
something like out of Beowulf, maybe.
It sounds so impressive. I bet that whoever is his dynasty still holds it because it's so
Oh yeah,
obviously impressive of a
Yeah.
castle.
Yeah.
yeah. There's no way. I mean, there's no way that like you could burn that.
Well, and if he doesn't, the next family that took it probably did.
Yeah, it's just no way
Right.
that like
I mean, it would be like dying at a fire in a fire at a water park. You know.
Dude,
Yeah.
All right. My Song of Ice and Fire tournament's going on right now, and I had I'm trying to remember who I had against Breakbones, Harren Breakbones Strong, and this dude just commented like, "Dude couldn't even win against the door." I laughed so fucking hard. It's like, good point.
Yeah.
It's like his greatest fight he ever did, he lost and he got all of his bones broken. All right, so he wanted to make a small little modest castle known as Harrenhal, a project that took almost 40 years to complete. The Riverlands and Iron Islands were drained of their finance to finance the building, with thousands of captives dying in the quarries, chained to sledges and laboring on the towering walls and 5 huge towers of Harrenhal. Weirwoods were cut to provide the rafters and beams. Harren had finally completed this grand castle of Harrenhal when Aegon Targaryen, Lord of Dragonstone, landed in Westeros and began the conquest. Long story short, he was burned alive by Aegon and the Black Dread in the burning of Harrenhal. I just wanted the.
How wild is it that his name is Harren the Black and the place he lived happened to be called Harrenhal?
Yeah, that's a coincidence.
Yeah, wow. That is crazy.
Lou Gehrig died of Lou Gehrig's disease. Who saw that coming?
That was the that was the joke I was building off of.
Your name written all over it, Bill.
Another Sopranos quote.
Is that another Sopranos quote?
Yeah, it's I think I can't remember if it was Polly or Chrissy who tells the Lou Gehrig joke.
Oh, I was doing Dennis Leary. Sorry for telling Dennis Leary jokes.
Also in the comments a while back, Cyclops is better than Wolverine had mentioned. Do you think Roderick the Reader has thralls? I just wanted to point out, just because you're literate does not mean you're a good person.
Roderick the Reader is still Ironborn.
Well, what he means is like because you have to take a thrall, so that's why the question.
But he does. He still is a captain of a ship. Like Roderick the Reader, even though he's literate. Same with Baelor Blacktide. Like just because he's a little different, they're still part of the Iron Fleet. Like they're still Reavers. Like just because you read about it, I think Roderick's again. Like if you want to talk about some of the best tertiary characters, like he's got to be in the top 10 in my opinion. Especially in the Iron.
He's awesome, graded on a curve of being an Ironborn.
Yeah, being an Ironborn.
Yeah.
Everyone likes him, but he is graded on the curve.
After doing the video for Carl the Maid, I have a new appreciation for Carl the Maid. I think that he is uber underrated. Outside, I'll say it. I don't want to spoil my video, but we're two hours in. I'm okay with it. If you made it this far, you can get this. I totally forgot that during Euron's speech at the King's Moot, so he has the horn blown and everybody shuts up, and even the damp hair is like a loss for words because we're in his POV, and he like can't think, and he's like, "What was that sound?" And everyone's all freaked out, and then Euron slowly walks up Nagas Hill, and he starts talking, and he's like, "I've done this, and then he's like, "And I've traveled all the way to Ashai by the Shadow," and Carl the Maid's like, "Well, then go back there." Like he heckles him, and everybody else is like stunned, and he's sitting there like, "Boo!"
That's great.
Carl the Maid's a badass, dude.
He was the one that was he the one that was banging the daughter Asha?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris makes a joke about Lou Gehrig and pisses Tony off. Yeah. There you go.
Mm.
Yeah. No, I remember it now. I remember it now. I love Chrissy.
Basically, the lesson also we should learn from Carl is if you want to sleep with a woman, you just have to heckle her uncle, and then that's you're in.
Ooh, and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna let that piece off your face."
Yeah.
No, I thought you just have to try a fruit for the first time around them because that's how he gets her. Because he's never had a peach, so he joins, goes down to the arbor with her, and then she gives him a giant peach, and he takes a bite, and then the like peach juice goes down his chin because it's George, so juice has to go down a chin, and she kisses it off, and then it's like
James and the giant pussy.
I completely forgot. I completely forgot that there was horny juice dribbling down chin at some point in these books. But yeah, that does track.
All the time. Anytime a guy does something hot, there's something that's gonna drip down somebody's. It's like, all right,
yeah, it's just like it's different when it's like literally like, oh, there's juice dribbling down his chin. Quick, let me suck that off of his face. Like,
it's a little, yeah, it's
peak George R. R. Martin, one could say.
Yeah, I love George. And I also love that, like, I've been at work listening to a chapter, and then I'm like, why is this 70-year-old man getting me in the mood? like it's so awkward. But like, I have to skip the Soiled Knight chapter when as soon as it's like, oh, and Ariane Martell's big dark nipples, and I'm like, dude, I'm at work.
He's really good at putting you in the head.
Do you not have headphones in, or are you just getting hot and horny?
I just don't want to get all word, George.
That's funny.
Dude, listen to his chapters in public. You're gonna get a little awkward. You're like, oh. Everyone else is just doing their thing, and here you are, like. Anyways, I was stalling for Andi to come back, but might have to move on without him. We're getting to Aegon's conquest. You know what that means? It means I can play this clip again. Because the Targaryens are
born of relentless inbreeding.
Dude, the term relentless in there, or the word relentless in there is so good. Relentless inbreeding. And then I got some what have I not played? I got some what's it called? Kids in a Hall movie clips, because I just love Kids in a Hall. And so I was waiting for somebody to bring up a strong character. I guess I did a couple times, but I really like how Mark McKinney says this.
Big muscles.
So I had that. And I have this, which you have to play 3 in order.
I think we got it. Yeah. And who are you? Just a guy.
Yeah, I don't know. That's where my brain goes.
Do you need someone to stitch those together for you?
If you wanted to make clips for me and save me from having to download like pre-made ones that are only 2 seconds long, yes, that would be great. I can send you a whole list anytime I have. Yeah.
Sure. Give me just start small. Give me like 15 or 20.
All right. Done.
Maybe because you are, as we say in Latin, a Dorcas Malorcus.
There you go, Dorcas Malorcus. All right. Andy's not going to come back in time. Well, the Conqueror waits for nobody. Claimants after Aegon's conquest. So these are not kings. I'm kind of breaking the rules here, but I didn't want anyone to be like, what about Lodos? What about Lodos twice round? So I just did them anyways. Qhored of Volmark was the grandmother, Qhored Volmark's grandmother had been the younger sister of Harren Hoare, and after the burning of Harrenhal, Qhored claimed to be the heir of the Black Line of House Hoare. He was the first of many rival claimants of the title of the King of Iron Islands. King Aegon the First Targaryen flew to Great Wick and slew Qhored with Blackfire. Heck yeah, one of the only times we actually hear about Aegon actually like fighting off his dragon, which is awesome. Aegon allowed Qhored's infant son to succeed as Volmark with the Volmark inheritance. And then there's Lodos, who is a priest of the drowned god. So I think this is what was it? Zach, who was thinking of a guy who was walking into the sea. I think he was thinking of Lodos, not the Grey King, because Lodos does that. So yeah, Lodos was a priest of the drowned god who claimed to be the god's living son. After the burning of Harrenhal, Lodos rejected the claim of Qhored Valmark, and a barefoot Lodos was crowned king of the Iron Islands with the driftwood crown by 200 priests gathered at Naga's bones of Old Awake. So he like essentially had a king's mood, but didn't invite anybody. Lodos turned to his god and called on the Krakens of the deep to drag down Aegon's warships. But when the beast failed to appear, Lodos filled his robes up with stones and walked into the sea to take counsel with his father, the drowned god. Thousands followed Lodos. Their corpses would wash up on the shores for years to come, except for Lodos' own body. That's like my favorite story.
How do corpses wash up for years?
I
guess the water's nice and cold.
Shut up. That's how. You're right. No, that doesn't make any sense. I guess none of the fish were hungry. Yeah, no, that's not reality. But I do just love like, rise, Krakens! Rise! All right, I'll go talk to my dad and see what's going on.
I don't remember where. It was somewhere in the real world. But basically, there was a massacre, and it was so large that for like 2 generations, nobody ate fish out of the bay.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Nobody wanted to eat a fish that had eaten a human body.
Yeah, that's not great.
Yeah.
Oh, Adi said that he's probably not coming back. I didn't look down until now.
Okay.
Oh,
it was good to see you, Andy.
Yeah, sorry, Eddie. Go ahead, guys. Can you talk for like a second so I can message?
This does like definitely the whole vibe of like going to the sea where you all worship and being like, all right, I'm gonna do a magic trick now. And then when it doesn't work, you self-delete along with all of your followers. That does have like vibes of like some salty Kool-Aid that they were all drinking. Right? Like you just like, all right, this is either gonna work or I've got a way out of this. But I don't know.
I mean, was he seen as like a prophet? Like was he
he became king?
Well,
he was the son of the god.
Priest,
so kinda,
the other priest named him. Yeah, priest of the drowned god who claimed to be. Yeah, and the other priest named him the new king. So yeah, some prophet. If you're claiming to be the son of God, you're claiming to be a prophet, right?
Yeah,
like
I would say so. It's pretty close.
I am when I do that.
I do think that that if there was some prophet, he would have a Stenson hat, a giant mustache and long hair. I do think of like, I'm Jesus. Like, yeah, you totally are, man. I'm not gonna argue. The second coming was the Marlboro Man. All right, moving on. Lodos the Twice Drowned. So this is a different guy. He was a guy. So this is during the reign of Aenys. So this was during the other little bit of rebellions that happened towards the beginning of the Targaryen dynasty. Lodos the Twice Drowned was a man who boasted of being the priest Lodos reborn, and during the reign of Aenys the first Targaryen. The revolt, however, was swiftly put down by Balon Greyjoy. Being a Lord Greyjoy must be annoying because the Iron Islands are constantly like, I'll be a king, and there's like, oh my god, dude, we're lords now, and just have to constantly put them down. Like that's like the first 50 years of Iron Islands being lords is
probably
just
probably the most unruly kingdom that the Targaryens ruled over.
Well, half the time they don't even have the vibe that they're part of the kingdom. They still are.
Yeah.
They're still attacking and doing stuff.
It's not half the time. It's all the time. I mean, they're literally like their own country.
Yeah.
And they're just like I can't think of the word for it.
They're pushing boundaries, waiting to be put down.
They're just like they're operating independently.
Yeah.
And they're just begrudgingly. They're begrudgingly not raiding because they got their asses handed to them when they do that.
It's like Skagos in the north. Like, they don't ever show up. They're not really part of the north, but they're not attacking the north anymore, so they're fine.
Yeah, like that was an interesting thing when Tyrion when Tyrion got released from the Eyrie to learn that there were wildlings like inside the Seven Kingdoms and like all over the Seven Kingdoms.
Yeah,
that was interesting to find out.
Men of the Vale. I just did a couple shorts, and I'm working on one for just the Stone Crows. Not Stone Crows. Yeah, Stone Crows. But yeah, I did one where I listed all of them, and sadly let's talk about the difference for Shaga didn't do very well. It's actually probably my worst. Let's talk about the difference, which I found really sad because rereading the chapters for Shaga, it gave me not only a really big appreciation for Shaga, son of Dolph himself, but just for the Mountain Clansmen of the Vale, because it's hidden, but the leader of the Stone Crows is a Gunther, son of Gurm or something. I can't remember. But Gunther joins Tyrion to feed the kids. Like, he even says, like, oh yeah, if we do this, we'll have gold and we can bring it back to our villages. Like, it's very much, you see that they're not just like raiding savages, that they like, no, they're taking care of their families and their clans, just like
What's the name of your video where you talk about all the wildling clans?
It's a short, and it's
okay.
Yeah, and please don't play it right now. But because it's like a minute and a half.
No, I have my volume off.
But yeah, it's my it should be a short, and it's just every mountain clan in the Vale. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, it's Gunther shows that they're not just doing it because they're savages, but because they're actually providing for their clan. But not only that, but Shaga himself, during the Battle of the Green Fork, which gets completely skipped in the show, but afterwards, Tyrion finds Shaga underneath a tree, cradling the head of a dead friend and like straight up crying for him. Like that amount of emotion you just don't see by the men or anyone really in the show or in the books, because they're always so like, like stone face and we don't show emotion, blah, blah. And you see this gigantic, huge bearded guy like sobbing for his friend, and it humanized Shaga and just the mountain clans as a whole. And it made me appreciate them so much more. And it sucks. I want people to watch that video because it like kind of like opened my eyes a lot for how actually complex the mountains men of the Vale are. I also got a Mountains Men of the North video coming because I did Brandon Norrie. So yeah, anyone remember the Norrie?
I do, like, weirdly off, like, not much about him, but like, is that the one that they stay with for a minute, or is that...
Nope. He's the one who goes to the north, or goes to the wall for Alex Karstark's wedding. The Norrie and the Old Flint. Oh, and also, since I got you, Michael, and it's late because you already did your Dragon Seeds vid, but I found another Dragon Seed. Yeah, totally. Let me get the first name. I know the house, but it's a house from Dragonstone. I did a short for House Scales.
Okay.
And
that sounds promising.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That sounds like
obviously a dragon seed,
Yeah, obviously. And so Benathon Scales is a knight who is in service of Stannis, and he's currently at the wall.
Nice.
Yeah. So, well, he traveled with Selyse to Eastwatch by the Sea, and when Stannis goes to Deepwood Motte, Selyse. Yeah, so he stays with Selyse. So he's at Castle Black, and his name is Benathon Scales. And it's like Scales sounds so much like that's what you would name a bastard of a dragon.
Yeah.
Right. And I know it also could be like fish scales, but no.
Not on Dragonstone.
No, not on Dragonstone. I know there's a lot of fishermen villages, but I saw that. I was
but like,
I should have.
The implication is clear. Yeah, the implication is clear. If you want that to be a fishing scales, you put it on the sisters. Like,
absolutely. I hate how we know so little about the Northern Mountain clans. Yeah, no, totally. We don't know if they live in castles and have maesters or anything. I don't think they live in castles or have maesters.
I was going to say, I bet they don't have maesters, and I would imagine they live in like hill forts and caves, right?
Well, and also there's many different cultures, so maybe one of them does. But like, because you know, some are actually in the mountains, the other ones are like the Norries are on the Gift, you know, and like one of them's in the northern Wolveswood, so they're kind of like spaced out. Like, and again, think different cultures, just like the Mountains Men of the Vale, and also the I know I already brought this one up to you, but let me get it so I actually know it. Vale Mountain Clans. Yeah, the one that is like, oh yeah, these guys totally worship. Yeah, Sons of the Tree. It's like, these guys worship the freaking old gods. Like, you could name Sons of the Tree. And there's another one called Sons of the Mist, which is also, Mist is very green sea, if you will.
Yeah.
Like that Star Trek episode where they run around the whole time thinking that the people that they're with were worshiping the sun up in the sky, and then they find out they meant the Son of God the whole time. That's a real original series Star Trek episode.
For acronyms, homonyms, the power of homonyms.
Yeah.
Hilarious. All right, let's get to the last two Iron Island gods. Iron Island Kings. Do you guys remember the last two?
Balon.
Yeah, Balon and Euron.
Yeah.
And I do not have anything on Euron because what do I have? Like, he's a video on his own. I'm not gonna just like make 3 slides for Euron Greyjoy. Come on. No, so Balon Greyjoy, and of course I'm giving very small explanations for both these guys. Known as the Twice Crowned, is the Lord of the Iron Islands and the head of House Greyjoy of Pike. In 289 AC, Balon declared himself king of the Iron Islands and proclaimed the independence of the Iron Islands from the Iron Throne. But the Greyjoy rebellion was defeated by King Robert I Baratheon's forces. With the death of King Robert Baratheon and the outbreak of the War of the Five Kings, Balon assembles his fleet and crowns himself again, and he launched an invasion of the north. His forces taking Moat Cailin, Deepwood Motte, and Torrhen Square, and Winterfell. Balon dies in a fall crossing a bridge at Pike during a storm in 299 AC. And then, of course, Euron Greyjoy, which I made this as brief as possible, known as the Crow's Eye, and Euron Crow's Eye is chosen at the King's Moot by his brother, that his brother Damphair calls for, and he's totally chill, and I'm sure he'll be a peaceful king. So, yeah. So, I mean, I don't even want to, like, throw it out there, but let's do it. If you guys have any small digestible things you want to say about Balon or Euron, because I really feel like both of those guys could be an entire 3-hour discussion.
How many people actually call Balon the Twice Crowned? Like,
Balon.
It feels, yeah, right. Like, that feels like there's not that many people who are gonna like. Maybe in the Iron Islands.
The cleft
They'll
John,
rewrite the history.
Yeah.
They'll rewrite the history later to be like, we have these 2 great rebellions. You guys have no idea how good they went. You don't know.
It's you know, we transition.
We took Winterfell, man. We used to rule Winterfell.
We got 20 minutes. Yeah, I mean, barely. Theon did. We got and also all of those accomplishments. Let's go look back at them. He didn't order any of them. He said Reeve on the Stony Shore. No, he ordered Moat Cailin. Moat Cailin's the only one that he ordered, right? And then Deepwood Motte was Asha doing her thing. Torrhen Square was Cleftjaw that Theon told him to go do, because he's like, oh, that would draw everybody away and I can go take Winterfell. And Winterfell was Theon. So he didn't do any of those except for Moat Cailin, and that's just Victoria and Greyjoy doing it. So it's like Balon didn't do crap. Like But now that we've made it through every known king, it's about as successful as a lot of these guys. Like a lot of they're known for doing something successful for like a minute. Like, they plundered Old Town, and then what happened? Oh, and then they got killed a year later. But
Yeah, that does seem like kind of most of their history.
I mean, there's a few where it's like they rule for 30 years, rule for 40 years. But you realize a lot of those guys are the ones who are peaceful. They're like, oh, they just fortified the stuff and didn't attack anything, and they even did a little bit of trade. Rule for 40 years. You know, it's the only ones who acted like Ironborn and then ruled for a very long time are the really successful ones, and those are the two: is Qhored I Hoare, the Cruel, who again just takes the entire Riverlands, and then frickin' Harwin. Like those are probably the two that lived for a long time and also did a lot of conquering, and also attacked when the Riverlands were weak. Like it was the fall of the Justman Dynasty. It was the weakest the Justman Dynasty ever was when Qhored did, and then the Riverlands weren't even owned by a River King or ruled by a Riverland King at that time. During Harwin, it was ruled by a Storm King. So they were already conquered and weak. And then the guy was stretched, and then it was perfect. So, I don't know. Do you guys have a favorite?
A favorite king of the Iron Islands?
Yeah, there's somebody you learned about today, or maybe you knew about him before, but who really sticks out as like a really interesting character?
I mean, the most interesting is the Euron and the Grey King, like, probably to me.
Yeah. I didn't realize there was going to be a quiz at the end. I'm sorry.
I didn't pay attention at all. I can't name any of these.
I do know that a lot of you guys just like, well, I'm going to do one of Taco streams. I better just get high and nod. Yeah.
Literally what you asked me to do.
Yeah, it's fine.
I can probably find a message where you say, all I need you to do is get high and nod.
I think I have said, you're like, dude, I'm kind of low energy. It's like, dude, just smile and fucking talk, man. I'm cool. Yeah, no, Balon is a complete idiot. I completely agree. Cyclops is better than Wolverine. I really feel like this is the first time I've seen you in the chat, and you have been active. I'm loving it. Yeah, it. Maybe he was in other ones, or so sorry, but it's the first time I'm like really noticing you. You've been all over it. I do think the Shrike is probably, I think, the most interesting of that.
That is, I hadn't heard about. I didn't remember him, at least. Like, I don't remember hearing about him before this.
Well, it was probably the closest damp hair parallel, right? Of a religious leader who isn't trying to take the crown or the throne.
It's also interesting, right? Because he's the Shrike, and the Shrikes are asshole birds, and then the Sparrows are nice little songbirds. And like the Sparrows and the Shrikes are religious uprisings.
Oh yeah, the Sparrows show up.
Yeah. Like George definitely just made him like the metal version of the Sparrows, right? Like,
yeah, no, totally. All right, yeah, you're right. He's not a damp hair stand-in. He's a high Sparrow stand-in.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, because he's a religious. Oh my God, I didn't even make that connection. That's fucking great.
Yeah. Religious bird guy.
Yeah, religious bird guy. Hey, I'm the religious bird guy.
Yeah, hey.
Okay, yeah. Just listen. Well, I'm glad you started talking.
This just made me think. Cersei fighting the High Sparrow, colorized. Whatever, and then it's just Peter fighting the giant chicken from Family Guy.
Now I can see the giant chicken without thinking about how they made him Boba Fett in the Family Guy Star Wars movie. So fucking good. When you see for the first time in the Empire Strikes Back on the second one, and it just flips over all the bounty hunters, and then it's the chicken and the Boba Fett. You're like, oh, you bastard! Like, oh, it's so good. You know how they would only make Meg. In the first one, Meg is just the garbage compactor worm. and then the second one, she's the huge one that comes out of the meteor to bite at the Millennium Falcon. And she's like, am I going to get any lines in these? And then in the third one, they made her Jabba the Hutt. So mean to Meg. Yeah, I really like I said, I really like Shrike and the whole thing with the Aubrey Craig Hall, like the idea of a knight from the Westerlands trying to take the islands for a second.
That is also great, yeah.
Do you think that that's a foreshadow of like some random Westerland knight is going to try to take the throne from Cersei?
That'd be interesting. Like it's interesting.
I just threw that out now. I have the
it'd be interesting if
Strongboard.
someone tried it, but like I think clearly the implication is if someone tries it, it's not going to work, and it might just say like these people aren't likely to be ruled by some rando unless you have a dragon that will force them to be.
You know, I think I can pitch to the interesting nerd club of King Lyle Craykall, just based off the Shrike.
Yeah,
like I
that'd
think
be
I
good.
could, and I think Lyle would make just as good of a king. And you know what? Oh my God, she constantly compares Lyle to Robert Baratheon. Cersei makes those comparisons because he's a big oath, like multiple times. So I don't know. I'll start writing it. I'm gonna pitch it.
Yeah,
it's just a nerd club. That's good.
You got a super chat. Looks like.
Oh, do we? Heck yeah. Forgot my name. Thank you. I think Theon's Conquest has. Oh, sorry. I'll put it up. I think Theon's Conquest has some nuance. The Andal invasion wasn't just for land, but religion. Oh, you're going back to Hungry Wolf. Seeing the old gods protect the north from the others, perhaps. Yeah, killer. Okay, so you're saying it's more than just. Yeah, it's more than just for land. It's a religious invasion because they're old gods, and it's the faith of the.
They're fighting to defend more than just their land. It's literally like their religion, way of life.
There is a cult. Yeah, it's a cultural thing, and now that thank you for the super chat, and that's actually a really good one. That begs the question then: were the North always more first manny? Or do we only think of them as being old godsy now because all the other old gods kingdoms are knocked out? Or was it before the Andal invasion? Was, the Westerlands, Stormlands, and all those guys, were they equally as old god? Yeah. They still had a bunch of weirwoods. No, yeah, definitely, because the God's Eye is in the fucking Riverlands.
And all their godswoods were weirwoods, and I imagine they were all stringing people up in the weirwood trees until the Andals came and said none of that.
So it was important for every kingdom, and it's not like every kingdom just bent over for them. Pretty much just the Riverlands and Westerlands did, but I do fought hard as fuck,
and I do think that they were very much on a magical level somewhat aware that the blood sacrifice to the weirwoods probably did keep the others away. Like, I think that is actually a thing.
Did they just call them the gods?
Yeah. I mean, the old nameless gods.
Yeah. Who's your favorite god? That tree. That one. Yeah.
I mean, that seems like kind of how it works.
Well, there's 3 weirwoods in our godswood, and there's one with like kind of a goofy face, and he's my favorite old god. You should. I mean, just think like, what if you think there's any like the Sphinx, like damaged. Old gods, and they like try to figure out like when did the nose of that one fall off?
Yeah, like Benjen, some 200 years ago version of Benjen horsing around, like accidentally hacks the nose off a weirwood with a sword as he's playing. They're like, "Oh no, don't tell Dad. He's gonna know. How would he know? How would he know? It looks fine."
Well, yeah. I know that Chrissy said something about this earlier, and we were chatting. Damp hair is connected to vampires, and shrieks are associated with banshee. Romanian, I don't know, the Stirgai vamps, who are normally witches, and owls with Lilith and demon and succubus, twisted wing dragon babies tied to them. Okay, yeah, and some hardcore stuff. Yeah, I don't have anything to go off that, but yeah, I do like damp hair being connected to shrieks of more being like kind of vampires and banshees.
Hey, the one thing that I do that my mind goes to bringing that up, I think Kirsty's talked about this even before, but like that line from Alice Rivers in House of the Dragon where she's like, "I'm an owl," cursed to wander the world in human form. It's just like, in hindsight, I'm like, that's some really Children of the Forest coded stuff. They turn into birds when they die.
They don't turn into birds. They
go into a hive mind. They go into a hive mind where they end up spending the rest of the time in ravens, hopping around to the point where Blood Raven says every raven has a child of the forest in there.
So I have a really big problem with that sentence, and I know you're going to explain it to me as a hive mind, but the way I read it, and it doesn't make sense the way I read it, but the way I read it is when a random wildling, who later is Orell, we find out is Orell, dies, he wargs into his eagle, and he lives as his eagle until Valamir Sixskins kicks him out, right? And but that implies that it doesn't imply the fucking eagle was alive when Orell died, and he warged into it, right? Ravens don't live for 2,000 fucking years, and the Children of the Forest have been dead for fucking ever.
So the only way you can take that is that it has to be.
But it doesn't say that. That's you using Michael talks about stuff brain to come to that conclusion. But he doesn't say we're in a hive mind and it's connected between the trees and the ravens, and you can tap into that hive mind. I know that you and
I don't even
David Lightbringer are going to pitch that, but it's not. It's not
the weird thing is I'm not even convinced it's fully connected to the Weirwoods. That's the weird part, right?
Okay.
Is the going into the Weirwoods when you die a lie? Because we see these Children of the Forest supposedly in ravens. Now maybe you can go into this whole old god's godhead might just inhabit many different things. But it is, in my opinion, because you're right. That is mathematically, it has to be the case then that you're just jumping around forever,
and you can't jump from raven to raven, as far as I know. Or
no, I think you
warg out of. Okay,
I bet you could when you're a disembodied. Because Bran does it. Bran does it. He jumps into the raven, then jumps back out.
He's alive though.
Yeah, but I would almost think a dead child of the forest spirit has more magic rather than less, right?
Okay, so you don't need your body to be living to jump again? Because I think of it. I
think once you die, you just are permanently jumping if you're magically powerful enough. If you're assuming the Children of the Forest, this is their afterlife, right? It is the afterlife they are eventually headed towards.
So they're either in a hive mind. So you're pitching they're either in a hive mind or they're literally jumping from raven to raven.
Yes, I assume that they essentially become a part of this spiritual force that is on some level connected, and because it's in the trees, but on some level it can't be fully connected because he says it is a child of the forest who died long ago is in that bird, right? It's not the combination of all Children of the Forest in that bird. So there's some individuality that remains.
But your brain not only melds with your consciousness, I should say, not your brain, not your physical brain, not only melds with the animal that you go into, but also other people that have been in there, right? Valamir hates Jon because Orell, I always want to say Orwell, but there's no W. Orell was killed by Jon. So that's he has this hatred. But then that means that it is exactly what you're saying with kind of a melting pot, because if I jump into a raven and Rust was in the raven, you were in the raven, and then we're all jumping into another bird, eventually
now it's a party.
30, 200 birds that you've jumped through with 150 different Children of the Forest that have also jumped through those birds, you are going to be a hive mind at that point. You're not Frank the Child of the Forest anymore. You're an amalgamation of 150 minds, which makes me want to just jump off a bridge. I don't like that at all. That's just so much.
And Kirsty brings up pretty much what I'm saying here is why do all the ravens have Children of the Forest in them? Shouldn't they be in the trees, the soil, the streams, and the stone? And it's I'm open to the idea that there is some weird reveal yet to be coming about the idea of what happens when you die in the old god religion. There could be something further to be coming in the next Bran chapter or two.
So since we've already left the Iron Islands and we're just doing what we normally do when we run out of topic, which is talk old gods, I found a really cool one. I just filmed my remake of Shagwell, and I found a post talking about the Whispers, and I knew there was some old Gotti stuff going on.
Yeah.
But go back and read that chapter looking for old Gotti shit.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Pig climbs out of a well.
Of the well, yep.
Shagwell comes out of the fucking weirwood. And not only that, but the whole idea of the whispers of being the heads that are whispering is very reminiscent of the children of the forest that are still locked into the weirwoods that can't talk when Bran walks by, and it's like which is the scariest fucking thing in all the books, by the way. That chapter is nightmare fuel. Bran's freaking chapter in the tree is fucking pure nightmare fuel. It just is. It's one of the scariest. Like re-listening to it for my Leaf video, like I was like, this is the scariest, like eeriest chapter. I just want to yell, like, Bran, get the fuck out of there. Like, this is bad. You're in the cult. Call your mom.
Oh, I think the other thing that happens at the Whispers too is that's where she sees the collapsed wall, and in the ruins of the collapsed wall, there's a little weirwood tree.
There's a little
growing.
weirwood
That's
tree.
the only time we see a young weirwood tree that isn't a vision, and it's growing out of a broken wall.
Oh, so cool. Which makes you think there's weirwoods
there's weirwoods in the wall. If the wall ever
flower
breaks,
in the crannied wall.
Well, and of course, going off of crazy Micheal brain, you'd think that the wall is comprised of weirwoods inside it. Yeah, no, the Whispers chapter. I'm waiting for your video on the Whispers because it is chock full.
It is one. Like, I've got a bunch of chapters that I want to just do a video on. Like, I'm just going to go through everything that happens in this chapter.
Whispering Wood and going back to Carl the Maid. The Attack on Deepwood Mott one has, I mean, literally the trees come to life in that.
Right.
And also the video or the chapter that John goes, the one where he finds 1-1 is full of it too, because they go north of the wall. And when I made my video for 1-1, he is constantly called a stone giant. Constantly. The symbolism that he uses, the wordage, the words that he chooses to describe 1-1 is a giant boulder comes to life, or he's like this. His laughter sounds like a crackling mountain. Like 1-1 is stone. You know, like that's all of his symbolism behind it, and that of course goes to the Waking of the Stone Giants. And I found another one with Shaga is twice. Tyrion describes him as if a boulder stood up and was wearing furs. And then also he says he's like if Casterly Rock was a person. So like there's all these things of big dudes. George specifically uses stone symbolism, which is really, really specific. Like it's fucking specific for a reason. And now that I'm like on the lookout for that kind of verbiage, it's like, fuck.
Yeah. Right. No, yeah, exactly.
Anyways, we are at 12 o'clock. Let's go 2 more minutes just so I can say we did 3 hours, but I know my wife wants me to take over watching Little Red so she can go to sleep. So, but yeah. Any parting words for the great kings of the Iron Islands? I wanted to show you guys good old stump hand again. Here's stump hand.
So how good of a king do we think the baby Theon had with that captain's daughter will be on this list?
Not very good. The Mirham.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say like it can't be hard to be top half, right? Like,
compared to everybody else,
gotta make top half. I'm putting Theon's baby with the Miraham daughter on top half of this list.
It's really weird that out of all these kings, I can count on one hand the amount of kings I would call successful. Yeah. Like 6,000 years, it's like Even the ones that are like remembered really good, it's like, what did he do? Well, he got it by winning a game where he lost his fingers. Okay, that's not a great accomplishment. Like there's, I would think Mirham, Captain's daughter baby is, somewhere.
Just don't run it off the tracks in your top 10.
Somewhere in the Harmon the seconds, let's say. Somewhere in the Harmons. Put him in the Harmons.
Makes sense.
Put him with the only black tide. Maybe. Russ, you got anything you want to throw out there?
It's free real estate.
It's free real estate. Yeah, dude. Ravens. Whenever I'm bored, I just go inside of the brain of a bird.
It's a solid retirement plan.
It's like an old boot.
Oh, like an old boot.
Isn't that how Bran describes going into Hodor? Like a boot that he was breaking in?
Yeah, like a broken in boot. So fucked up. It's a dude that you messed up with your time travel.
Right.
I got one.
Well, we don't know that yet, but
I want to say, true.
We assume, but yeah.
I want to say one sad thing, like one thing I'm disappointed. No warging brought up at all. And that sucks because I like Gilbert Farwind, and the Farwinds are famous for warging into to sea lions. I wanted at least one king, like, with an army of krakens or an army of sea lions, or like something that's wargy. Because even like,
so like, just to be clear, like you could have brought that up at any time.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so we're on the same page.
Trying to kill another.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I just had that idea of like, these guys are very first man-ish, and I was surprised that we didn't see any actual first man type powers out of these guys like we do out of the other first man kings.
Yeah, well, were there old kings who would sink other competitors' ships with krakens for real? Because they keep talking about raising krakens like it was a thing, right?
Yeah, and Lodos is the only guy I think tried.
Well, Euron's gonna try, so like we assume
that somebody
got this idea from somewhere, but there's a good point that should be talked about in the big list you just went through.
Yeah, you're right. And that's what I'm saying is how come we didn't find out about one type of old god or even drowned god type power being used? Because even like the Storm Kings summon storms that happen while they're being attacked. It just happens, right? Like, oh, these guys are being invaded and the great storm all of a sudden happens. So there's storm god symbolism there. But all right. Well, we could call it. And thank you guys for showing up. I want, because they're not here to say it for me, go check out Interest in Nerd Club. They always do amazing stuff. Rust, are you working on anything right now?
Nope.
I will ask every time.
Still doing nothing.
All right, perfect. Michael, are you doing nothing?
I have been doing nothing for a couple weeks. I am going to start. I have some stuff that I could edit together, but I'm probably just going to re-record a couple of quick videos. And then I am working on a bigger Jon Snow video, but I'm going back through all of Jon's chapters and a bunch of Melisandre involved chapters and stuff. So that'll come out at some point, but I've got a couple smaller theories I might put out before that.
Okay. I'm excited. And yeah, so I have this Saturday, I have my Emin Koi video going on. And after that, next week, I got Raleigh Duckfield remake, which, I mean, dude, I pretty much lived on the Royne for like a bunch of my shorts and like 2 videos in a row. Like I spent a lot of time on the Royne. And so Raleigh Duckfield and then Brandon Norrie, like I said. And then after that, I have Carl Corbray and then Carl the Maid. I got 2 Carls in a row. And I filmed my Stone Snake and my Ryam Red Wine difference video. And starting tomorrow for my Song of Ice and Fire tournament is my Soiled Knights and Killers bracket. And let's flip to it right away. The fight for tomorrow will be Simon Toyne versus Luca More Strong. And that's going to be good. And then you got Jorah Mormont versus Ares Oakheart and Chris and Cole versus Lynn Corbray. Got some really good fights coming up. Nice. I don't know who win Chris and Cole or Lynn Corbray. That could go either way.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. There you guys go. Thank you for watching. If you made it 3 hours in, you guys are amazing people. And thank you, everyone who sent in a super chat. You guys are great. It's really needed right now. As I said at the beginning, I've been going through some rough times, and I'm still trying to rock out as many videos as possible. And my wife hates me for it. So, not really. She supports me. Thank you guys so much. And, yeah, peace.
Bye.